Hello everybody, this is Lag Spike. So, about a few weeks ago, I asked my Discord we basically came to a conclusion that I should make, because of for my 1,000 subs, I would make one video that everybody wanted to see, one video that was requested by a few people, and one video that nobody has ever asked for. And this is the video that nobody has ever asked for. I decided, today's a Friday, so I decided, okay, let's have a 6-hour recording session. If some of you might have seen the original list when it dropped, the original video, that's been deleted now because that video was not only was the video bad, but also I just didn't like it was just not engaging enough, and also I just didn't like it, and also it didn't really get a great reception. This one's also definitely not going to get a great reception, but at this point I'm like, you guys know that I do dumb shit all the time, so I feel like this time I've at least established that this kind of stuff is par for the course, so people won't be that mad at me. This is 149. Let's see. Each of these is 14. I got that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it's 149. Most of these are manga. Some of these are anime. For example, the Persona 4 animation is here. I have Code Geass Season 1 and Season 2. Basically, unless I say that I watched it, just assume that I read it. Yeah, we're just going to be going through them and just hoping that we don't reach the heat death of the universe before I'm done with this list. Last time I did this, I had like 70. Now I have 150, so I guess good luck to me. Alright, I'm just going to go through what the lists, the tiers mean. I'm pretty sure you can understand it by just reading the names, but just in case, some people, tier list is a pretty podcastable content type, so people often listen to this stuff, so it'd be easier to explain it that way. The top tier is Insta Auto Super Recommend. I'm gonna be putting up maybe my goal is to put around 10 entries into this top tier. If I hit a bit more, a bit less, I don't really care, but that's basically what I'm going for. This is stuff where if you haven't read it, then you're basically doing yourself an active disservice. The stuff that I'm gonna put in here is fucking goated. Really, really good, very few problems is stuff that's very, very good, but this is like the nitpick tier. This is when I read something that's really, really good, but I'm just too stubborn to put it into my top 10. So that's where that goes. Very good might have a few issues is for entries that are very good. If you read them or watch them, you'll probably have a good time, but they have some issues that are holding them back from being truly genre defining. Solid pick overall is something where you're not really going to go wrong by picking it. Okay, I don't know why I was so paranoid that I didn't put Noragami on the list. Anyways, if you pick it, you'll probably be fine. If it fits your tastes, maybe is something where it's either not that great or it might not be for everyone. But if you're interested in the premise, you should definitely try it out. Needs heavy improvement is stuff that could be good, but it's definitely not good in the way that it stands, or some of these there might be one a releasing series in here or two, but most of these are going to be completed stuff, at least around this tier. So really is this really what you're picking to read? I mean, you can probably just find something more worth your time, right? And Never Again is stuff that I actively regret reading. There's very few of those, but there are some things that I just regret reading and will never go back to read when they're finished, or go back to finish them. Alright, let's start off with 20th Century Boys by Naoki Urasawa. If you don't know, Urasawa is a very good suspense writer. He's done many great suspense mystery series. There's 20th Century Boys, there's where is it, Monster later on this list. Those are the two that I've read, but there's also Billy Bat, Pluto, 21st Century Boys, which is a sequel to this. 20th Century Boys is his most well-known work. There's some really weird stuff about 20th Century Boys where apparently it's not ever going to get an adaptation. I'm not really sure why, I'm just not going to go too much into it before I say some just extremely incorrect shit. But yeah, no, 20th Century Boys is it's basically these kids grow up and they try to, and turns out that one of their childhood friends ended up being like a ended up growing into like a massive cult leader, and they're just trying to stop this guy's growth into like fucking up society forever. The main issue that I have with 20th Century Boys is that the main plot is pretty engaging, but there's a lot of time skips in it. There's, I think, like 4 time skips across 20th Century Boys, and each one is just a really massive pace killer. 20 CB is about, let me check real quick. I believe it's around 200 chapters. It's 249 chapters across 22 volumes, so it's a weekly series. But like the pace breaking stuff is really annoying. As a result, like if I was less annoyed by the time skips, I would definitely put it into the top tier. But I think I'm gonna put it into very good. Might have a few issues. I think that's a solid placement for it. Next up is Akame Ga Kill. I'm sure that some of you have watched the show for this. This shit was blowing up a while back. Like, people were talking about it all the time. It's died down a bit because, you know, the TV series ended quite a while back. It's basically like your average dark fantasy. Despite what it seems, like, if Akame Ga Kill, like, feels horny, but it's actually really not. It's just the art style just makes it look more horny than it actually is. Akame Ga Kill is actually just a pretty solid, just a solid shonen. It has 15 volumes worth, about I'd say about 100 chapters, because I'm pretty sure it was monthly. 15 volumes is not 100 chapters. I think it was more like 60 chapters. It's 80 chapters. Yeah, but no, wait, that's 10 chapters? No, sorry. Anyways, yeah, if you like that, I don't know about like Berserk and stuff, but if you're a fan of stuff like Chainsaw Man because of the action, or stuff like Jujutsu Kaisen, I think, and you haven't read Akame Ga Kill or watched it, I think it's a pretty good watch. I think the show was like 27 something episodes, one season. I haven't watched it, so I'm not sure about that. I would say I would put it into solid pick overall. There's some like really like cliche stuff here, and like some of the characters are just like comically, they're like Garen level of comically evil. Like, okay, dude, like seriously. But yeah, no, I still think it's a solid pick. Like if you're like, I want to read a shonen, and you read Akame Ga Kill, you'll probably be in good hands. Next up is Akane-Banashi. This is actually a very recent, I think it started like a year ago at the time of this recording. It's a recent Shonen Jump, like weekly Shonen Jump, so like the main magazine series. It's about Rakugo, which is like Japanese storytelling form. I'm not really sure about it much. I've been reading it so far, and it seems it's relatively engaging. It's basically about this girl's dad, who's this guy right here, I think. Yeah, this is her dad. Her dad went to like this performance for like big Rakugoka, and he like gave like a performance, and she was like, wow, his performance was kind of heat. And then this big shot shows up, and he's like, everybody, this performance was dog shit, you guys are all fired. And she's like, and you know, her dad is now like a magazine editor or something, I forget. And she now decides to pick up the mantle and, you know, train to become one, and, you know, prove that her family, I guess, is not worth the slander that they've been given. From what I've read, it's a solid pick. It's pretty focused. It's not really episodic in nature, which is nice, but I think it might bite it in the ass later on when people really catch up to it. But I don't think it's really that fair to say that it's bad for that. It is pretty early in the going, but so far it's been pretty solid. I would say it's a solid pick overall. It's been surviving in Shonen Jump for a full fucking year means that you have to have something going for you, and yeah, Akane-Banashi has something going for it. It's pretty solid. This you probably can't tell from the cover, and I don't blame you. This is Alice in Borderland. Alice in Borderland is like it's like that survival game genre, but it's got like a Alice in Wonderland like theming surrounding it. Basically, this dude just wakes up one day, and they have to like play in these games where you need to keep playing them, otherwise you'll like get shot from somewhere and you'll just die. And there's different like types of games. So there's 4 types of games based on the 4 suits of cards in a deck of cards. So there's diamond games, which are based on your intellect, heart games, which are based on like psychological manipulation, club games, which are based on teamwork, and spades games, which are based on physical acuity. This is just basically about our main character, Yohei Arisu. I can't believe I remembered his name. It's been like 3 months since I read this. Making his way in this world and trying to figure out a way to escape from it. It's a pretty fucking good read. Like, I would recommend it. If you're into that, if you're willing to deal with some, like, violence and stuff, it's pretty good. I feel like it was a bit, like, I think the author was like, I think because there's a bunch of levels of trials. So if you play like if you go to 2 of diamonds, that will be the easiest intellectual trial that's possible. If you go to like a 6 of diamonds, it'll be somewhere in the middle, and so on and so forth. But you only really get to see around like 15 to 20 of the trials total, which kind of sucks because I think that the concept is really unique and the writer did a pretty good job at all the stuff that he did. But I mean, I'm not really gonna blame a series for being for being a bit too short, because it's really easy to be too long. Being too short is less common and also not as much of an issue because the ending is pretty good. I would say I would put this in one of these 2 tiers. All right, I'm putting in really good, very few problems, because it's just really good. Now this is a series that I just don't understand at all. Haru Ride is like, it's like the #1 most common just like main genre romance, and maybe that's just me because I just don't really like just like main genre romance. This is a romance series. It's all about romance, and that's what it is. Like, I just don't fuck with that too much. It's not like rom-com I can deal with if the comedy is good. I mean, as you'll see later on, I can definitely deal with rom-com because I enjoy quite a few. I enjoy a couple of rom-coms that are pretty good. But Haru Ride, I just don't get it. Like, if you like romance, you'll probably like it, but it just feels so basic to me. Like, the girl has a guy that she likes, and then the guy goes out with this other girl because she's relying on him, and then the girl that he's going out with break up. These 2 get together, and then that's like the end of the story. That's it. It just feels like there's this shit is so boneless. That's how I would describe it. Haru Ride is boneless. I'm putting it in the really tier because I just now this is all personal opinion, because I'm just gonna be honest here. I am always going to underrate romance. I'm always going to underrate isekai. I'm always going to underrate like harem stuff if there even is anything on this list. I'm always going to underrate stuff that's like unnecessarily horny in my opinion, and I'm always going to overrate like good action, and I'm always going to overrate like psychological. I'm going to overrate thriller. I'm going to overrate series that just do batshit stuff for fun. Basically, this is where it boils down to. But speaking of isekai, here's one that's actually pretty good. This is Ascendance of a Bookworm. This is like, if you've ever read Dr. Stone, it's like Dr. Stone except exclusively about books. This girl, she used to be a big reader. She gets reincarnated into this world as like a kid, but there's no literacy there. So it's like her journey to become a like librarian, or by introducing literature to the world and making it more widely available. It's just a good time, honestly. It started off as an LN. I'm reading the manga right now, and it's like a monthly release. I should probably get on the LN. LN, in case you don't know, stands for light novel. It's like a book. Yeah, no, it's a pretty good time. I would say it's the one thing I will say is that for such a like I say mundane, but it's not really mundane, but for such a grounded topic that as like spreading literacy across a world, there's like it adds in like fantasy elements and stuff, which I'm not really that much of a fan of, because I think that the main appeal of the story is trying to see her go through this journey. That's why people read Dr. Stone. I don't think people really like Dr. Stone as much because of the mystery, compared to the it's just Senku doing brazy shit day in day out. That's why people read it, as far as I'm from like the people that I've talked to. But it's still like very good. I would say I would put it like around 20th Century Boys. Moving on to A Silent Voice. A Silent Voice, I used to have it in my top 10. It's fallen off a little bit for me, but it's still very good. It's like 60 chapters. It's about this guy and this girl. She's deaf. She can't hear, and this guy in like grade school like viciously bullies her, and after she leaves the school because of her bullying, his classmates like team up, gang up on him, and like get him, like, you know, he gets his just desserts, quote unquote. By the time he hits high school, he wants to try to make up for everything that he's done, and so he like meets this girl. He's about to just like pay his mom back for all the shit that he's done in his life, and then just like end it. And then he meets her. He's like, I want to make things right, and it's like it's a pretty like touching story. The reason that I'm not gonna put this in the top tier anymore is because just the pacing and the characters just feel a bit, something about the characters just feels a bit odd. There's this character, like, I know that you're not supposed to like all characters, but I feel like the author is trying to write, there's a side character, she's a girl with black hair, I forget her name. I feel like the author is trying to write her as a somewhat sympathetic character, but she's just like so mean, like day in, day out, that I don't think you could ever redeem her. So I just think that they go a bit too hard on that. And also, there's like, there is no like definite resolution on the romance between the main two characters, which is really annoying for me. But we're about to go on a bit of a strong stretch here. This is Assassination Classroom. If you don't know anything about my manga taste, you might be surprised by this. Assassination Classroom is it's my perfect manga. It's not the perfect manga, but it's my perfect manga. I found it at like the perfect time in my life. I think I was around 12 maybe. I was just I was just like going through middle school doing my thing, and I saw this like really colorful cover. I picked it up. I read the whole thing in one sitting, and I was like, this is really funny, and this is really funny and interesting. I want to see where this goes. So I just kept reading and reading and reading and reading, and the ending like really fucked with me. Assassination Classroom, I think by itself has, well, I don't know about by itself, but in a large part due to Assassination Classroom, determined what I look for in a series. Before Assassination Classroom, I wasn't really into like that like sob story stuff. What is it called? Any like tearjerker stuff. I would always be like, "You're lying, April." I'm not gonna read that. What the? No. After Assassination Classroom, things changed. I realized that I enjoy reading stuff that's kind of sad because it's somewhat poignant and it's interesting to read. So, and it's still like my favorite story in the manga that I've ever read to this day. I watched the anime like 2 times. I read the manga like 4 times. It never gets old. The ending is so beautiful, so perfect. I really love it. It's my number one. Moving on to, this is Astra Lost in Space by Kenta Shinohara. If you don't know the name, that's the same person that did Sket Dance. Where's Sket Dance? Sket Dance right here. And also, they recently started Witch Watch, which I think is also in Main Jump, like the main Weekly Shonen Jump series. But anyways, Astra Lost in Space is a relatively short series. It's 25 monthly chapters, 5 volumes. Though the volumes are a little bit thicker than usual, I will say. It's a sci-fi story about these kids who get stranded on their space journey, on their like field trip to space, like in outer space. So they're in like a sci-fi world, right? They go on a field trip to outer space, but then they get stranded like in like super far away from Earth, and they find like an abandoned ship there, and they have to like slowly make their way back home and scavenge for stuff on planets on the way. So you have like 7 planets, I think, where they make pit stops. They learn more about what they're doing. They learn more about the world around them. The world building here is very intriguing, fascinating. There's like some very good plot twists. The characters originally like kind of don't really like each other for the most part, but they learn more about each other. They become friends, and by the end, it's a journey that means like the world to them. It means everything and more for a lot of reasons. And I think that it's just honestly downright impressive how the author managed to pack this much meat into just like 25 chapters. I just don't want to be wrong about this. I'm going to check again. Sorry, I'm way off. It's 53 chapters across 5 volumes. So wait, this was a weekly series, huh? That's crazy to think about, because that means that this was airing, this was releasing for like 1 year, and he managed to cram all of this good shit in that 1 year. Yeah, Astra Lost in Space, I read it very recently, and it was a recent addition to my top 10 of all time. I really, really enjoy Astra Lost in Space. It's one of the, if anybody asks me for like a recommendation, I'm always like, Astra Lost in Space is, it's pretty good. It's only 53 chapters, because it's pretty short. So I think that you would do good reading it. Moving on, Attack on Titan. My opinion on Attack on Titan has changed a lot. When I was a kid, I for the love of me could not get consecutive volumes of Attack on Titan. There would always be like gaps in volumes, so I tried to read it with the gaps in volumes, and if you know anything about Attack on Titan, that shit just will not work for you. More recently, I've reread Attack on Titan. I was like, this is like the best thing I've ever read, and I was like a big Attack on Titan believer for a while, and then I reread it very recently. Well, not very recently. I reread it again like a few years ago. I was like, I feel like the last arc is a bit of a big issue with this. I put it like an 8 out of 10. And then more recently, I bought the Colossal editions for Attack on Titan, which are like a 3-in-1 volume, except it's 5-in-1. And I realized that Attack on Titan it's pretty good. It has a few issues, but I still think that it's a very, very good read. I'm putting in really, really good, very few problems. It's not in my top 10, but I would say that Attack on Titan is a must read for any like shonen fan. Like I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, because I'm sure all of you guys have watched or read Attack on Titan, but just in case you haven't, it's definitely worth it. Next up is Azumanga Daioh. I'm going to get murdered for this take, but the manga, it's just not that good. I've watched some of the anime, and I thought it was a great improvement on the manga. It's very tough. Azumanga Daioh is 4-panel, and 4-panel is really tough to adapt. I've seen a lot of series try to adapt 4-panel, and usually it's a swing and a miss. Azumanga managed to like improve on its source material in the anime to a great extent, but this is me rating the manga itself, and the manga itself, I put in the if it fits your taste, maybe. It's funny, but the characters are like really one note. Like Osaka, her whole thing is that she's completely worthless, like that she can do nothing. Chio, her whole thing is that like there's no like depth to these characters, and even if there's not supposed to be much depth to these characters because it's a comedy series, I feel like I've watched other series that do that way better, like Psyche right here. This is my gold standard for a comedy series. That characters in Psyche are like somewhat one-dimensional, but they still have some depth. They have unique interactions with the other characters. They have unique like relationships with other characters. Azumanga Daioh just does not tickle my fancy at all. I'm probably gonna watch the anime eventually, and then my rating of it will probably increase. But as it stands right now, I just don't fuck with it that much. This is Beastars. Beastars, right? If you haven't read or watched Beastars, trust me, I know what you're thinking. Why is this dude like? Why am I looking at a furry right now? What's going on? I don't really get it. I'm probably not gonna read it, and that's exactly how I was. But Beastars it's one of those rare works where it takes a concept and it makes it work, and it does absolutely everything in its power to make that one concept work, and it does nothing else. And honestly, that's pretty goated, honestly. That's pretty good. Beastars was a surprise banger for me. When I first saw it, I was like, I'm not going to enjoy this. But I was like, alright, it's like 200 chapters, weekly chapters. I'll probably, let me see if I can read it. I went through it. It's really good. Beastars is all about the political dynamics in a theoretical world full of anthropomorphic animals between carnivores and herbivores. It's kind of like the way if you ever watch Zootopia, except they flesh that out to an excellent extent here. It's very, very good. I think that if you want to see it, want to have like a cool, like, there's a lot of good characters, there's a lot of good moments, there's some memorable scenes. It's just a good time. The final season of Beastars is going to be coming, like, I think next year on Netflix, so hey, it's a pretty good time to get into the series, I'd say. If there's one thing that I will say that's not good about the series, it's that the last arc or so is the way it fits into the main series is just really weird. Moving on, we have Black Clover. Black Clover it's actually a carbon copy of another series I'm going to talk about later, but it just does everything slightly better. And honestly, that's just fine by me. Black Clover is the most, like, it's a shonen. Like, if you want a shonen and you read Black Clover, that's what you're gonna get. The only super exceptional thing about Black Clover is like the paneling, like the way the layout of the pages is kind of cracked in Black Clover. You can read through this stuff mad fast because the way that it's laid out is like super easy to read. That's a really weird thing to give credit for, and I will give credit for it, but I would say that it's a solid pick overall, like around here. It's a good time if you're reading it. It does have that like shonen stuff where it's like really horny sometimes for no good reason, but I think that's just the author being like, don't cancel the series. yeah, there's a lot of it's a pretty big buy-in to try to get into Black Clover now, but don't cancel the series. I think that's what the author's going for here. Speaking of shonens, here's another shonen, a classic. This is Bleach by Tide Kubo. I've had a long journey with Bleach. Bleach, I think, was my first manga. Yeah, it was genuinely my first manga. The first thing I ever picked up from my middle school library shelf was Bleach. I saw Bleach because this is back when like the drink bleach meme was like was big. So I was like, what the fuck is this? This is named this book is named Bleach? Well, I guess I'll check it out. And then I checked it out. Over the next like 4 months, I got through like 60 volumes of the series, and that's how I became a manga addict at that point in my life. Early Bleach is actually heat. Like the first couple arcs of Bleach, like you have the Yu Yu Hakusho style, doing odd jobs in the human world. Then Rukia gets taken away by her brother. She's going to get executed. Ichigo shows up in the spirit realm to save them. He meets Renji. They have a good time. And then there's like the holification stuff. There's Fuego Mundo. There's the Aizen fight. Final Getsuga Tensho. All of that is actually like, it's low-key peak shonen. I'm not going to say high-key peak shonen, because it definitely has some issues, but it's really, really good. It's just a very engaging read. And then after that, there's the Fullbring arc, and you go, what the fuck happened to this series? And then after that is 1,000 Year Blood War, and you go, oh, now this is pretty fun. But then you're like, the later you get, the more you're like, what? Something is not right here. I think it's more just that, like, by the time you've reached 1,000 Year Blood War, you're probably significantly older than you were back when you were reading like Aizen. Back when you were reading, like the execution stuff. I'm thinking either If It Fits Your Taste or Solid Pickle Draw, because I'm telling you right now, the Fullbringer is such a fucking pace killer that it's not even funny. Fullbringer arc is horrible, and 1,000 Year Blood War has a lot of issues. And like normally, like Bleach is like, would be around like the Beastars level if it was consistently like as good as it is in the first couple arcs for the entire runtime, but it's not, so I have to put it below that. I think I'm gonna put it below Akame Ga Kill, and I'm gonna move Akame Ga Kill actually above Akane-Banashi. Okay, this is the first of, I think, there's a few Shuzo Oshimi works here. This is Blood on the Tracks by Shuzo Oshimi. If you don't know that name, Shuzo Oshimi is a prolific manga writer. His specialty is disturbing slice of life. Let me look at the works on this list that are from him. There's Blood on the Tracks. There's Flowers of Evil. There's Happiness. Where's where is it? There's Inside Mary. I think those are the only ones that I have on here. And all 4 of them are like, it's basically just like, what if we took a concept and we just like twisted that up to like a really fucked up degree, and it's weirdly engaging. Like, it's enrapturing, some of this stuff. You can't stop reading it because you're like, even though it's so weird and creepy and messed up, you just keep going, because why wouldn't you? How could you not keep going? It's so engaging. Blood on the Tracks is about this kid and his mom has an ungodly obsession with him for like reasons that are too complex to put into words, to be honest, right now. And it's about this kid's life, and at some point they're on like a hiking trip, and his mom pushes his cousin, this kid's cousin, so her nephew, off of the cliff, and he gets he's in a coma. And so now our protagonist sees his mother do this, and he's like, what the fuck? And now he has to deal with all of this stuff in his daily life, and it's menacing. And I will say it, like, this lady right here is more menacing than like Dio, and I'm sticking to it. It's very good. There's Shuzo Oshimi has like this thing where he'll just like put a time skip in the middle of his work for like very weird reasons. And it's kind of a pace breaker, and that's why I'm not putting it like above Beastars, for example, but it's still really good. I think we're approaching the end of it because we hit the time skip a little bit ago. I believe it's every other week that Blood on the Tracks releases, so if you're interested in that, I would highly recommend checking it out. If you're a fan of Flowers of Evil, if you're a fan of any of Shuzo Oshimi's work, I would highly recommend checking it out. Here we have Blue Exorcist here. Blue Exorcist is just it's a pretty cookie cutter shonen, except for the part where I think it was on hiatus for a while because the author had some like issues, and also the anime adaptation got fucking bodied by some, like the anime adaptation was really, really bad. Yeah, it was on a break until May 2022. it's back somewhat recently and it started releasing again. It's a good time. I would say it's around like the Beastars level, basically. There's some like weird stuff in it, but honestly, overall, it's like really solid. I think my memory of this is tainted by the fact that I have very little memory of this to begin with, but I'll still put it in the very good, might have a few issues tier. I think it's a solid pick. Blue Flag is I think it's the first BL I ever read. If you don't know what BL is, it means boys love. I didn't know that's what it was when I picked it up. And at the end of the first volume, that's revealed to you, and you're like, oh, that's what this is. And I kept going because I felt that the characters were rather engaging. It's just a pretty basic love triangle concept. Honestly, this is what I prefer when it comes to like BL. When some of the other stuff is like it's super honed in on the boys love concept. It's like that's the only thing, but this is just a normal setting, except like two of the characters are gay. That's just how it is. The romance, but again, it's a romance, so like I don't really like it because that's like the main concept here. There's some decent comedy in there, but overall, I don't know. It is rather short. I would say if it fits your taste. Yeah, you know what? This is like the definition of if it fits your taste. It doesn't really fit my taste because I don't really like romance main genre for the most part, but this is pretty good. This is Bokurano Hours. This is one of the offcast of the Evangelion breed of mecha plots, where it's just fucked up. These kids are like basically recruited into piloting this mech, and they have to win 13 fights or their universe gets deleted. And every time they fight and defeat the opponent, the person that was piloting the mech dies, and these kids have to like deal with their consequences and go through their life doing it. It's a pretty somber story. I read this actually. I read this probably when I was just way too young to understand the full ramifications of it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very good concept. It does go like it is a bit much sometimes, but I would put it. I'm just trying to think. So, you know what? I'm putting it below Blood on the Tracks. And speaking of Blood on the Tracks, here we have another one of its kin, not from the same author, but the same concept. Boys Abyss. Boys Abyss is just like depression fodder. Like you read it and you go, what the fuck? And you just keep reading it because you have to know what happens next. The more I read it, the more I'm like, damn, this has a lot of issues, and the plot is very like circular. Like they keep going like that. It's like issue 1 evolves into issue 2, evolves into issue 3, evolves into issue 4, evolves into issue 5, evolves back into issue 1, and they've by this point in the series they've done that cycle like 5 times, and I'm like, dude, I get it. I get what you're trying to do. Like, and they've like just mixed up the order sometimes, but like it all ends up back to the same concept. And I'm like, okay, I get it, right? I get it. The politics between the characters and their relationships are what sell this for me, like, still in the current day. Because if the character interactions and their relationships with each other, pre-established or not, or even stuff that you discovered throughout the course of the series, are really what make Boys Abyss work. I would say if it fits your, but still, it has a lot of issues. It's like really melodramatic, and it's again, the circular stuff, it gets really on your nerves. I would say if it fits your taste, it's a good pick. Next up, this is Bungo Stray Dogs. So if you've ever watched or read JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5, congratulations, you just read Bungo Stray Dogs, except slightly worse. Bungo Stray Dogs is really good. It's just these guys are part of like a detective agency, and they just have to like help their city out, and it seems like a pretty tame plot at first. And each of these guys has like an ability. For example, our main character right here, he has like an ability that allows him to get like the physical power of a tiger, and also gives him really good regeneration. This guy right here, he has an ability to cancel other abilities, so he's like a Eraserhead. Except I think this came before My Hero Academia. I can't quite tell who else is in there, but yeah, no. These characters are, Bungo Stray Dogs is really fucking good. It's, the earlier abilities are pretty simple, but then as it gets later on, the abilities go more and more insane. There's more cool concepts introduced into the series. It really does become a lot like JoJo. And kind of similar to JoJo, all the abilities and characters have a theming to them. They're all named after authors. So for example, there might be Harper Lee with an ability named... Wait, Harper Lee is the one that made To Kill a Mockingbird, right? I don't think there is a character named Harper Lee in this yet, but for example, there's a character named H.P. Lovecraft, and like his ability is that he's just a Lovecraftian eldritch demon monstrosity, and it's just really, it's kind of freaky. It's a lot of fun. I would say I actually learned a decent amount about literature based on this. It's a good time. It's a very good shonen. Like, I would put this very, very top of really, really good, very few plot moves. This is one of those that are like knocking on the door of my top 10. But this is the same thing that I am with. This is the same way that I am with One Piece. I'm like I'd let you in, but I haven't seen the ending yet, so I'm gonna wait because I've seen so many good plots been ruined by a bad ending. So I just can't. I can't see that happen again. This is Call of the Night. This has been actually in recent memory of the public because there was an anime adaptation that just happened recently. Call of Night is about this dude Yamari who's like super like, you know, disillusioned from like normal life for a school kid, and he just wanders the streets at night. He has insomnia, and he meets this vampire chick, and they just go on adventures. The first like couple arcs are really enjoyable, but like more recently, it's just become really weird. Like, it was always like a bit horny, but like in kind of like a fun way, even though it was still a bit overbearing for me. But recently, it's just fallen off for me recently. I used to rate Call of the Night at like an 8 because it was more about like the concept of, you know, being free to do whatever you want. But now it's become more about just like the character story between Yamari and Nazuna, who are Nazuna is like the vampire chick, and that's not really, it's okay, but it's not really anything groundbreaking. So I'm gonna say it. I would say I don't know if it needs heavy improvement. It needs some improvement for sure. Let's think about this. Is it better than Boys of This? Yeah. Is it better than Bleach? No, I'll put it below Bleach then. Okay, next up is Chainsaw Man. I'm going to get murdered if I don't put it in the top 2 tiers, but don't worry, I actually do believe that Chainsaw Man is good. Chainsaw Man is one of those situations where a series gets so hyped for so long that you just get fucking sick and tired of it. It's the same thing with same way I was with Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm like, okay, dude, we get it. It's pretty decent. Like, can you like shut up about it for like 5 seconds? Right now, as I'm filming this, we are in the midst of Chainsaw Man being aired, so life has never gotten more annoying for me. And I like Chainsaw Man. It's just, I think it's the inner hipster in me that's like, it's popular, so it has to be bad. The thing with Chainsaw Man is that Chainsaw Man is this is more about the first part of Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man is 3 manga put into 1. The first third is the best, and I will not debate you on this. It's Denji being extremely down bad. And I'm being like legit. Not only is it funny, it also is like very relatable to the modern youth, because I'm being serious here. The modern youth, like kids these days, and I'm talking about myself as well, are just really, really down bad. Like, the COVID just hit different, and like everybody's like horny all the time. It's just, everybody's just really down bad. And I think that it lets you relate to Denji a bit. And by a bit, I mean a lot. Except for the part where he's like destitute. I don't know about that being that relatable. And then after that, like the middle third of Chainsaw Man is just a bunch of like shonen stuff, which is pretty decent. A bit confusing at times, but pretty decent. And then the last third is where they hit you with the gut puncher. They hit you with the plot twists. They mess with the characters. They're like, this is not what you expected it to be. It's a pretty good time, I will say, the last couple volumes. But I still think that the first third is better, because that's what I prefer personally. It's a good time. Chainsaw Man is good. I just don't know if it's like, you know, like peak fiction, like people keep saying it is. This is Classroom of the Elite. I actually read the light novel for this. This is the first light novel that I read. It's pretty interesting, but this shit drags on. Basically, the whole concept is that they're these kids are in a school where it's like class warfare, but like literally, like their classes have to outcompete each other to gain resources and stuff. It's pretty interesting, but like it gets kind of formulaic, because it's just, this is our main character, Ayano Koji. He always claims that he's like a really average guy, but like by like volume 2, you realize that he's just pretending, and he's actually kind of cracked. And so after that, it just becomes a cool event happens. There's some interesting politics, and then Ayano does some shit in the background that they don't tell you about, and then he pulls off some crazy shit. Their class wins, like yada yada. It just keeps going on like that, and I'm just like, all right, dude, we get it. I think that strong enough opposing force, from up until where I've read, a strong enough opposing force has not been given to Ayano. I guess it's just late. Well, okay, I will say it's good. If you're in the mood for this kind of stuff, it's good. The anime is kind of slow, I'll say. Well, it's not slow. It's like, it's just that the light novel has a lot of meat to it. So it's been 2 seasons, and I believe it's gotten up to volume 4 or 5, and there's 11 in year 1. It's very good. I would say it's like around like here. Around here. Yeah, that's what way to put it. Now, this is Code Geass. This is season 1, season 2. If you want to know which one is one, the one where C2 is just hanging out at the top, that's season 1. Code Geass,
I wanted to try out some anime that didn't have a manga adaptation, because if it has a manga adaptation that's good, I'm gonna fucking read the manga. That's just how it is. Because like I watched the anime for part 1 and part 2 of JoJo, and then I read part 2 onward until I hit part like 5. Until I hit part 6, and then I started watching part 6, and then I went back and watched the other parts again because I was like, I want to see what these are like. Code Geass it's a great show. It's a great show. It's honestly, when every mecha show is trying to be Evangelion, it's kind of tough to find a show that's just like, hey, we're just gonna go into a robot and fight each other. Does that sound cool with you? And they're like, yeah, that sounds pretty cool with me. And then they do it. I feel like I love Code Geass, but I love it for, I think, the wrong reasons. I don't really I like the action in it, but what really makes me love it is the comedy. And let me tell you, Code Geass is really weird because they'll have like crazy stuff happen in the city, and like stuff's blowing up left and right. And then the next chapter is a school festival where they make the world's biggest pizza using a mech to flip the dough. And C2, who's like an alien being wanted by the government, has an insatiable lust for pizza, so she's like trying to get a bite of the big pizza, and then our main character Lelouch has to just try to keep shit under wraps. The slice of life episodes in Code Geass hit different. The music's pretty good. The animation's pretty good. The voice acting is great. I watched the English version, and it's kind of funny because Lelouch, our main character, his voice actor is the same Johnny Young Bosch, who's the same voice actor as Yuna Arakami for Persona 4. And one of the main antagonists is Suzaku, who's this guy's best friend, who is voiced by Yosuke, Yuri Lowenthal, who also voices Yosuke in Persona 4. So it's just kind of like, if you close your eyes, you can hear you and Yosuke talking about their school life, and then like fighting in mechs and shit. It's a good time. It does satisfy that like psychological like pissing contest like itch that stuff like Death Note fills, where it's like people just like outthinking each other. And also it has really good combat. I will say, I think Season 1 is a little bit better than Season 2, because it feels like Season 2 is, like, the last third of Season 2 just doesn't feel like it makes any damn sense. It just, like, it goes, like, okay, my mouse is what, wait, let me see if I can see okay, I can see my mouse, I think. So, if this is the way the action is going, imagine this is a graph, in Season 2, and then it's like, there's like a break in the graph, and then this is where we are. We're on like a different plane of existence for like the last couple of episodes. It's just, it feels really odd. I still think it's good. I just think it's also really weird. I would put it around here. It's a good time. It's a good time. But to compensate for that, the Season 2 Slice of Life episodes are even funnier. This is... you might be wondering, what the hell is Fates doing on this list? This is the Fire Emblem Fates manga. If you haven't read it, it's called the Fire Emblem Fates Crown of Nibelung. It follows the plot of Revelation, except the main character is not Corrin, it's Leo, which makes it instantly like 5 times better. But first of all, basically goes over the way things are in Nor while Corrin is away, the politics between the characters, the way that Nor works. It gives you some real world building. There's some meat. There's some meat there to chew on. The characters are reasonably well written compared to the way they are in the game. They're driven. They're not stupid. They get their jobs done. It's a very good Fire Emblem product. I think that if you like the concept behind Fates, and you want to see some good execution of it, I would try reading this. It's a very good time. I would put it. I don't think it's like super. It's not like very, very good. I think the reason that I'm like gassing it up so much is that the plot of base game Fates is so trash. So this is so much better by comparison. I would put it like around here. I think that's around where I would put it. Next up is Dawn of the Arcana. This is a series where I saw it. And I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. And then when I got home, I picked it up, and then I saw that on the back it says Shoujo Beat, and I'm like, fuck. And then I just read through the whole thing anyway, because what the hell do I have? What else do I have to do? It's a pretty interesting. It's like a political shoujo about this girl. There's like some racism concepts involved, except it's like based on hair color. There's some magic. She can like see into the future, but like it fucks with her life force. They're trying to like save their kingdom or whatever. It's an interesting read, but I don't think it's. I feel like the pacing, it's not super engaging, and I feel like it doesn't take itself as seriously or as unseriously. It doesn't like commit to either being a serious serious or just being unserious, and that really fucks with it for me. I would put it in if it fits your tastes, right below Boys Abyss. This is Death Note. I used to be like a Death Note is like right here type of guy. Now I'm like a Death Note is like right here type of guy. Death Note is still like you can't read or watch Death Note and be like, this has no redeeming qualities. You're just a liar. The first like third of Death Note is so good that it got my parents to watch anime, and they just don't, and they like will do anything they can to avoid animated content. I would put it like right like here. Death Note, like if you don't know about Death Note by now, I feel like this is not the right video for you. It's just really good. I was on the edge of my goddamn seat for up until the main point before they hit the final arc, and then the final arc was kind of shit. So I was like, man, what the hell? Death Parade is an anime that I watched because I thought I was interested in it. Let me tell you something. The OP for this goes dummy, and also it does not represent the show well at all. It's like when you see the OP, it's like the characters are like manning a bar together and like having fun. That's not what the show is all about at all. It's about people that are dead going into like this place to be judged to see whether they can reincarnate or not, and it's about like who gets to judge like what morality is. And I'm like, why would you make such a banger OP for with like such colorful visuals and such dissonance from what the show is actually about? That's just a bit of a nitpick that I have. I'm not gonna. There's no way I'm gonna discount. There's no way I'm gonna be like take away points from a series for having a good OP. That's insanity. I will say the Death Parade is it's interesting. I feel like the first like 7 episodes are like engaging, but don't really move the plot forward too much. And then the first 8 episodes even, and then the last like 4 episodes have to carry the brunt of that work. And I just feel like it's not done well at all. And there's some shit that is not explained well enough at all. The visual design, audio design, everything is really, really good. But is okay? I'm gonna think about it this way. Is it better than Call of the Night? Yeah. Is it better than Bleach? I would say yes. Actually, no. You know what? Bleach needs to be moved up to like right here. Is it better than the Fire Emblem manga? I don't really think so. Actually, I think it stays like right here. Next up is Demon Slayer. This is a series that I never expected would blow up as well as it did. This is proof that good animation can do anything. Because let me tell you, if this series was animated by like a solid studio but nothing like exceptional, everybody would be like, yeah, it's okay. But because the animation is so like well done, everybody's like, this is the greatest show ever, even though it's really not. It's exactly okay. Demon Slayer is very useful to me. Because it's become my barometer to judge a shonen by. For a shonen to be a certified good shonen, it has to be like certified like great. I don't know about certified good shonen. No, because like these are like solid shonens. These are not like good shonens. For a shonen to be good, it has to be better than Demon Slayer for me. If it's above Demon Slayer on this list, that means that it's a good shonen. That's the way. This has become my palate cleanser. This is my baseline for determining how good other stuff is. Because it's so like vanilla. It is a very cookie cutter plot, and it's executed reasonably well. The pacing is solid. The character designs are good. The visuals are solid even in the manga, and it handles like death well. Which one thing that I actually care about quite a bit in shonen is how it handles the concept of death. And I'm not talking about like the psychological concept of death. Like that's if you don't handle that well, I'm like, okay, that's fine, whatever. But I'm talking about stuff like Dragon Ball, which is just like, yeah, we're gonna kill off our characters and then bring them back. Why would you just kill them off and bring them back? Why not just have them be defeated? It's like, oh, it serves a bigger impact. It doesn't. If death means absolutely nothing, it doesn't really serve a greater impact. It doesn't really make any sense. In Demon Slayer, if somebody dies, they're fucking dead, and characters die, and it's like you care about those characters. It's a solid read. This is a classic from my childhood. Was it my child? Yeah, no, I was like 10, and I watched Digimon the original season. So and this is like the 4 kid stuff. So it wasn't what's the OP? I forget what the OP the international OP goes like. But it was a Digimon, Digital Monsters, Digimon are the champions. This is that series, and I will say, this is like the best kids anime that I've ever had the pleasure to experience. I've watched Doraemon, I've watched Kitaretsu, I've watched some Pokemon, I've watched Yu-Gi-Oh, I watched Beyblade, I watched Digimon. I haven't watched like a ton of all of them, but I've watched a reasonable amount of each. And Digimon blows literally this specific season of Digimon blows literally all of that out of the water for free. Digimon is about 7 kids, eventually 8, that are the Digidestined, that go through a bizarre world. First of all, the visual design for a show from like the 90s or whatever is so nice. It doesn't look like beautiful, but it looks weird and bizarre, and it's visually striking, and it's memorable. And the characters have distinct designs. They have good, reasonable personalities, and they're really like naive about stuff, just like kids should be. And they're like often do stupid shit. They get into fights for no good reason. They think that like, for example, there's this part where Tai, who's our main character, feeds Agumon like a bunch of food because he wants him to go into his super state, and as a result, Agumon turns into Skull Greymon instead of the next level, which he's supposed to evolve into, which is like an uncontrollable demon which results in Tai realizing that Digimon are people too, and he has to take it at his own pace. It's a very good kids show. If you have like a little brother and you want to watch like something that'll be engaging for both of you, I mean this 100%. Watch Digimon. Digimon's fucking good. Is it better than Alice in Borderland? Honestly, I'll say it. It's like right here, and that's definitely my like bias for me reading this, watching this at a young age, and I'm completely and entirely fine with that. I can't really like. I would rather there be full bias here, and for me to be able to tell you that there's bias, than for me to try to correct for bias and maybe overcorrect or undercorrect and just not mention it at all. This is Dragon Ball. So the Dragon Ball manga technically encompasses Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. I'd say it's a solid pick. I've gone through this argument so many times. Dragon Ball it's a reasonable shonen. It has a lot of issues. Like the stuff I said about character death. Power scaling is fucking like horrendously done. Characters just like characters die, then come back to life, and then don't show up ever again. Why not just leave them dead? Are you insane? Why are you making things so much harder for yourself? Just kill them off and leave them dead. Like Chaozu, he's not come back because he's not needed. That's what you should have done to Yamcha, maybe. Well, like done to Yamcha. I don't know about Launch or Lunch, which is she's actually called Lunch in the manga, which is weird. But yeah, no stuff. Stuff like that makes me have issues with it. But honestly, if you read Dragon Ball, I don't know about watching it because there's quite a bit of filler. If you read Dragon Ball, you'll have a good time. Dr. Stone. Now this is the patrician's choice for a modern shonen. Dr. Stone is about like one day the entire world turned to stone, and then like 300,000 years later or something. I forget what it was like. I think it was like 3,000 years later. Yeah, 3,000 years later, Senku, our main character, awakens from his stone slumber and has to rebuild the world from ground zero. And he's like galaxy brained, so he's like super smart and he knows a ton about science. It's a very, very good read. I would put it like the only issue that I have ever had with Dr. Stone is that the last like 10 chapters, 15 chapters feel unbearably rushed. But other than that, shit, I might put it above Attack on Titan because Attack on Titan has a couple of consistency issues, but I still think it's good. But it has some like it doesn't always decide what it wants to be ahead of time. Dr. Stone knows exactly what it wants to be ahead of time, and it does it. I think I'm gonna put it right there. This is Elfen Lied. I don't really know how you pronounce it. This shit needs heavy improvement. It's like the concept of the mecha. It's like you know how Evangelion works, like where it's like like oh characters have to go through crazy shit. It's basically that, but like it's way more horny, way more like cringe, and like the characters are fucked. Like the character designs and like motivations and shit are just messed up, and not even like messed up, like not messed up in like a man that's really dark and disturbing. Messed up as in like this shit is just bad. It's just not good. Well, okay, I don't know about not good. It's just it really needs some fixing. Like Elfen Lied could be good, but it's not good as it stands. The ending hits a little different, I will say, but everything up until then is mid as fuck. This is the Elusive Samurai. This is made by the same author that made Assassination Classroom. It's a currently running series in Weekly Shonen Jump. It's about this kid who can run away from basically anything. This is like a historical series, so it takes place in like the 1300s, I think, in Japan. And his entire family is dead, and so he has to like escape and try to like take back his kingdom and like do the shit. And you know, it's got that classic Yusei Matsui comedy, and it's really funny. But like the main plot, I just don't think it hits the same as something like there's way better historical stuff. We're about to hit one somewhat soon, and I would say Elusive Samurai is if it fits your taste, maybe. I will say, Yusei Matsui's art has become so much better over time. Every single chapter of Elusive Samurai has at least one panel where you go, God damn, these characters look nice. Maybe that's just my personal bias because I really like it when characters have like thick outlines. That's just something I like. That's why I like All Might a lot, because whenever he shows up, he just has thick outlines, and it just looks kind of cool. Alright, you remember when I said Black Clover was just another shonen, but slightly better in every single aspect? That other shonen is Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail is... It's like if you took a shonen, and then, like, somebody, as a prank, like, sneaked in a titty shot every 5 minutes. It's so unbearably fan-servicey that it just gets on my nerves. Because the thing that even gets on my nerves even more is the fact that Fairy Tail isn't even... It's not a bad shonen. There's like a decent plot there. There's some cool characters, interactions, good fight scenes. But it's just so horny for no reason. Like, if it was bad and horny, I would probably put it like... If it was like middling and horny, I would put it like up here. But because it's good and horny, I gotta put it down here. Because it doesn't have any... That shit doesn't serve any goddamn purpose. Pisses me off. Fairy Tail like makes me like upset because it could be good. This is like the fates of the shonen universe where it's a good concept, bad execution. At least when it comes to the story is like the level of fan service here. Fire Force. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Fire Force is like good. No, it's good. Okay, it's good. It has one big issue. Okay, I don't know about this. Put it below Bokurano. So, there's this part in Fire Force where the author just randomly self-inserts themselves into into this random like NPC character, and they start talking about how people... There's this one character in Fire Force whose entire concept is really like weird and cringe, and I don't really like it. Is that like people... It's like that lucky pervert concept where they'll be like, oh no, I just fell into your tits, but like she just like attracts like that kind of misfortune all the time, and the author is like, stop talking shit about that character. That's just how she is, and she does the best with what she has, and it's actually really cool. And that exists for 2 chapters, and then the kid just disappears forever, and everybody online was like, what the fuck is this dude talking about? And then the shonen ends, and it's a pretty good shonen. So I'm just like, why did you even talk about that? If that scene never happened, I would be like, yeah, Fire Force was pretty good. But because that scene happened, that's like the only thing that I can remember from Fire Force. I swear to God, this shit just is weird, bro. By the way, in case you didn't know, Fire Force is made by the same guy that does... Where is it? This is Witch Hat Atelier, Takupi's Original Sin. Where is... Soul Eater, same person that does Soul Eater. And I will say the art style is really like engaging and interesting. There's some like cool, like there's just fun paneling all the time. It's a good time. This is Fire Punch. This is made by the same guy that did Chainsaw Man. It was before Chainsaw Man, and I will say, this shit is fucking messed up. Oh my god! If you think Chainsaw Man's messed up, you have not read Fire Punch. Fire Punch is like, it takes place in like a post-apocalyptic world where like the world is freezing over, and it's so unnecessarily over hyper realistic to the point of it the hyper realism only serves making it like more sad. Like it's just such a sad, like messed up story And like I get you can have stuff that's like messed up, but this is too much, man. Fire Punch is too much. It's just too much. I can't believe it managed to stay in Jump for so long when it's so fucked. It's good, but like if you need to be you need to like mentally prepare yourself if you want to read Fire Punch. It's I feel hesitant calling it edgy because I don't really think it's. I guess it could be called edgy. Yeah, I would say it's kind of like a bit overly edgy. This is FLCL, also known as Fulikuli, also known as Furikuri. This shit is a fever dream. If you ever watch Fulikuli, I feel like Fulikuli is intended to be watched while you're under the influence of a psychedelic of some sort. I just can't imagine how else this would. How else could you come up with something like this? I can't. Words are not enough to explain Fulikuli. But I will say the music goes fucking dummy. The music goes really, really good. It's just a really good rock soundtrack. It's 6 episodes, and it felt like 18 years watching those episodes because my brain just kept like what the hell is going on? It's engaging for reasons that make me upset, but I think that Fulikuli is supposed to be about like growing up. And our main character is supposed to be like going through puberty, and that's why nothing in the damn show makes sense. I'm just gonna say, you could have made it a little bit more clear. Just a little bit more clear, man. Come on. Like, I get that it's supposed to be confusing, but this is too much. You guys gotta tone that shit down. It's still an entertaining watch though. You will never not be entertained because you can never like look away from the screen because something insane might happen when you're looking at the screen. This is Flowers of Evil, made by Shuzo Oshimi. If you remember, that's the same person that did Blood on the Tracks. Flowers of Evil, Flowers of Evil is the baseline Shuzo Oshimi work. And it's actually like at the top of the Shuzo Oshimi works, because it's like the best one. It's just the ideal member of that disturbing slice of life concept. It's weird. It's weird. It's realistic. It's kind of disturbing. It's awesome. I feel like it's so engaging. I still really enjoyed it when I was reading, but I will say it's a bit much at times. It's a bit much at times. And sometimes it's like watching The Office. If you guys ever watched the Office, I'm the kind of person where like Michael does some like really, really, really cringe stuff. I'm like, oh god, I really don't want to watch this. Watching this just I almost want to like look away from the screen. This is Food Wars Shokugeki no Souma. This is a cooking manga, and I'm gonna put it. I'm contractually obligated to put it into the if it fits your taste maybe tier. Not only because it's a reasonable pun, but also because that's actually how I feel about it. I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea what the hell half the shit they were talking about was. The setup of the plot was pretty good, but like I don't know what these guys are talking about. But there's some like fun moments. There's this random part where they just like that one of the main characters is like fighting like an opponent in like a food battle, and she's like, go ramen noodles, my power can defeat any foe, and like a fucking stand shows up behind her. That I'm like, what the fuck? It's an entertaining read, but I feel like I don't know if it was worth reading all the way through. Also, like, there's this character called Irina. She shows up really early, but like she's like supposed to be like a big shot, but she does basically nothing, and then she's like the most important character in the last arc out of nowhere. It just feels really weird, man. If it fits your tastes, if you were into that cooking stuff, I would say now here's something that's not odd, which is Fullmetal Alchemist going into the top tier. Fullmetal Alchemist is the go-to if you want to read a shonen and you haven't read Fullmetal Alchemist yet. That you should read Fullmetal Alchemist. There's literally no better recommend. It's a somewhat 27 volumes because it's like 100 and something chapters, but it's a monthly series, so it's 27 volumes. I feel like 27 volumes is about average for like a shonen series, because Demon Slayer I think hits 24 volumes. Hikaru no Go hits 27 something like that. Stuff like Noragami is probably going to hit around 27. Dr. Stone's going to hit like 33 or something. Attack on Titan hits 30 or something. Like, the 27 to 30 range is pretty average length for a shonen. If you want a decent length shonen, you probably can't do any. Well, you probably could do better, because Fullmetal Alchemist it's not that many people's absolute favorite, but it's in, like, a lot of people's, like, top 5. You'll probably end up finding something that you enjoy more than Fullmetal Alchemist, so you might be able to find something better, but it's a very good, safe bet for a shonen. It has everything you want. It has good characters, good scenes, good settings, action, good abilities, good world building. It's just a really good like, plot. I don't know what else to say. Future Diary, I used to be a Future Diary right here type of guy. Before I met, like, Astra and a couple of other series that end up in my top 10. Now I'm putting it here. Future Diary, the way I see it is like it's an engaging suspense story plus like a romance story. I feel like if you made the main character, this is actually the main character, if you made him like way less of a crybaby, this would actually be a pretty interesting, it would be a pretty engaging show, and people would be like, yeah, this is pretty good. But as it stands, it's just kind of weird. I still really like it, despite my better judgment. Like, if I cared about my reputation, I would be like, yeah, I don't know if it fits your taste, but no, I have to be honest, and because of that, I'm putting in the very good, might have a few issues tier. Oh my god, fucking Girls Last Tour. Alright, it's going right there. Girls Last Tour is, oh dude, Girls Last Tour got me fucked up when I first read it. Girls Last Tour, when I read it, I was so, like, when I finished it first, I was so inconsolable. I was, like, uncontrollably sobbing. I literally had to start rereading a rom-com, like, rereading a good comedy series, just so I could get myself out of that funk. That's how, like sad it is. This is how you do the cute girls doing cute things genre well. Girls Last Tour is about these girls living in a post-apocalyptic world where, like, humanity's gone to shit, like, everything's gone, and basically, like, nothing is there anymore, but they scavenge, they survive, they do their best, they try to make it to the top of the world, and, you know, it's a very somber story about it's like a eulogy to humanity as a whole, and I feel like I would recommend it if you're into that kind of, if you're willing to read sad stuff. I would definitely recommend it. Golden Kamuy, oh my god, I very recently read Golden Kamuy. This is a series that I just do not see enough people talking about. On every site that has, like, manga, like, popularity and, like, rating rankings, this is, like, relatively high, but I don't think I've ever heard a single person talk about Golden Kamuy, which just doesn't make any damn sense. There's already 4 seasons of the anime out, apparently, I didn't even know that this shit was airing. And like, it's like 300 chapters. Okay, the way I see Golden Kamuy is like I like to imagine that the author took a bunch of genre names and put them into a hat. They're like, okay, romance, put it into the hat. Cooking, put it into the hat. Historical, put it into the hat. Comedy, put it into the hat. Action, put it into the hat. Adventure, put it into the hat. And they're like, okay, they shake it around, grab one, and that's the one that I'm going to do. But they forgot that they had glue on their hands, and they accidentally grabbed every single one, and they're like, okay, I guess this is what I'm doing now. Golden Kamuy is... It has no identity, and that gives it an identity. You will never read a manga that crams as many genres as well into one plot as Golden Kamuy does. It has cooking, it has exploration, it has history, there's a ton of historical stuff in there, like cultural context, very well researched. The way I see it, this is Steel Ball Run Hokkaido edition. It's about this guy who learns about this, like, a bunch of prisoners who had like tattoos put onto their bodies, which, if you get them all together, they tell you where a bunch of gold is hidden, and so it's like a race across Hokkaido between 3 factions to try to secure the gold. And there's a ton of engaging characters, there's a ton of hilarious scenes, this author's art is so fucking funny, there's this consistent face, this is Sugimoto. He has a friend, like, his companion. She, like, gives him, like, weird shit to eat. She'll be like, okay, here, eat this raw brain, because it's, like, a delicacy. And without fail, he always has the exact same face, which is like, how am I supposed to approach this? And he goes at it. He's about to eat it, and then he's like, pauses, and then tries it again, pauses. There's so much subtle comedy, like, fun referential stuff,
good research. It's a very, very good good read. Like, if you have the time to read 300 chapters of a manga, Golden Kamuy, you will have a good time. This is another one of those series that's like knocking at my top 10. I can't put Girls Last Tour in my top 10 because whenever I look at it, I would be reminded of it, and I would be like, my day would be ruined again because I would just be sad. Speaking of being sad, Goodnight Punpun. This is one of those series that apparently another one of those series that apparently has some issues that stop it from being adapted into an anime. I'm not really sure about. I'm not too familiar with the issues, but apparently it's just not happening. It's about this kid, and he's just has a really fucked up life. That's really just it. It's just depression fodder for like 200 chapters, and it's written in like a really it's like Stockholm syndrome, where you just can't stop reading it. I think I've said this like 50 times about this stuff, but yeah, it's engaging. It's good. There's characters in it. I would say that it's like towards the end it gets kind of like really edgy, but I would say that it's very good. Might have a few issues. Moving on, this is GTO, aka Great Teacher Onizuka, aka Ass Class but without the supernatural stuff. GTO is a good ass read. I think the description that I just gave is a good description. Onizuka, he wants to become a teacher for like really, because he's a fucking pervert, but then like he gets to his class and then he gets attached to his kids. He teaches them how to live a better life. He gives them life skills. He gives them advice. He becomes a good teacher to all of these students, and it changes him as a person into just a better person overall. It's a good read. It's just a good, solid read. This is Happiness. This is our third, I think, Shuzo Oshimi work. This is about vampires. It's about vampires. If it fits, I'm putting that into if it fits your taste. Like, it's a very weird work. Shuzo Oshimi, I feel like he kind of fell off with this one. That's a joke. He didn't actually fall off. This one's just really weird. This is Haven't You Heard I'm Sakamoto. I had never heard of this until I just saw it laying around in my library, and I picked it up and I was like, "What is this about?" And it's literally like 5 volumes of this dude Sakamoto who's like way too perfect. But and you know how normally when you see those characters that are like super perfect, they get all the girls like fawning over them and they can't do anything wrong. They're the Mary Sue type. Like you like get you're like, shut the fuck up. You just get kind of annoyed at them after a while. The way that Haven't You Heard I'm Sakamoto tackles this is by making him so over the top that he's basically like a child, and it becomes hilarious again. It's just really fucking funny. Some of the shit that he manages to pull off is actually outstanding. It's a short read, it's a funny read, it's a good read. I recommend it. Like it's if you have like a day's worth of free time, well, maybe I'm like underestimating your reading speed. Let me see how long Haven't You Heard I'm Sakamoto is. I believe it's 5 volumes. It is 24 chapters in 4 volumes. I mean, what else can I say? It's a solid series. I would say this shit took 4 years to come out. I mean, okay. The monthly series timings be hitting different. I'll be honest. I'm putting it below Bungo Stray Dogs. I'm putting it below Chainsaw Man. There's just not as much meat on its bone as these. Like this is just a fun time. But these are like, this is a fun time, and also there's something more to it. This is Heaven's Design Team. I just picked it up one day at the library. I was like, sure, let's check it out. And it's interesting, but it's definitely not for me. It's basically, if you've ever read Cells at Work, this is basically that, except it's about like the biology and anatomy of animals. It's an interesting read, and you know, it's kind of like an educational series, but also there is no overall plot, and that shit just drives me insane after a while. Unless it's like a really good comedy, like lack of overall plot is like a big bummer for me. I would put it into, like, I don't think it needs heavy improvement because it knows what it does and it does it well. I would say that if it fits your tastes, you will enjoy Heaven's Design Team. Now, this is just another series that people need to start talking about. This is Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. It's 12 volumes, about, I believe it's about 80 something chapters, 170, 190, somewhere around there. Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. It's 127 chapters. Man, that's pretty short for a shonen.
This is like if you took Demon Slayer and leveled it up. It's about this dude, Gabimaru the Hollow. He's like been like caught for some kind of crime, and he's been put to he's like about to be executed. But then the shogun is like, go travel to this island and bring me travel to this mystical monster island and bring me the elixir of immortality, and I'll let you go free. And Gabimaru does that. There's a bunch of fun characters, great combat, reasonable, absolutely phenomenal pacing on this one. I would put it into really, really good. Like this is a banner shonen. I think the reason people haven't talked about this as much as something like Jujutsu Kaisen or something. Well, actually, I don't really know. Maybe it's just less marketable. Next year, though, Mappa is doing an adaptation for Hell's Paradise. That shit's gonna pop off. I can guarantee you when Hell's Paradise drops, people are gonna be like, "Oh my god, anime of the season." I know these things. When the manga readers are in on the pulse of the anime scene, even if they're not actually invested in it at all, because you just know everything like 3 years ahead of time. That's just basically how stuff works here. Man, this is about to be a fucking mid-ass like little run for a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 plus 14 is 18 plus 12 is 30. 32. 32 plus 13 is 45. 45, 46, 57. That's pretty fucking good. That's like 57 is like, because that's like 150. That's like a third of the stuff here. That's really good. Here we have Hikaru no Go. Hikaru no Go is a series about the Go, the sport. This guy, he gets like a ghost in his mind who's like a god at Go, and he's like, please help, let me play Go. I'll do anything. And Hikaru's like he's like dragged into it. He meets a bunch of characters. Hikaru himself becomes invested in the concept, and you get to see Hikaru's growth from a kid to like a young man, and that I think is the most like engaging part of this. And also there's this part like 80% of the 75% of the way through where like there's like this absolutely really there's this really nice like slice of life segment where well, I don't want to spoil it because it's actually a really nice part. This is like a classic, honestly. I'm pretty sure this is an oldie, but I'm pretty sure people know it. I would say that if you're looking for like a sports, you could probably do well with Hikaru no Go. I would put it like right like here. This is Horimiya. This is like a classic rom-com. Like if you look up the definition of rom-com, there's decent odds that you'll find Horimiya there. It's the classic situation of where at the start it's pretty funny, and towards the end it's a lot more romance based, which makes sense. But it makes sense to do it from the author's perspective, but doesn't mean that I have to like it. I would say that it's a solid pick. There's some really fucking funny stuff here, but I don't think it's good enough. I Had That Same Dream Again. This shit is a surreal ass experience, man. It's very short. If you have some, again, this is one of those, if you have some time, maybe try it out. You might like it. It's really like, I don't know if this, it's really like avant-garde, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at here. There's some just really weird like art and plot decisions that I don't really understand. It's okay, but it's definitely not for me. So I'm putting it into if it fits your tastes. Initial D. This should need some improvement. I can't believe I managed to get through reading all of Initial D. You don't read Initial D, and you don't watch Initial D for the racing. You watch Initial D for the Eurobeat, and there was none of that when I was reading this. I don't even know how I managed to get through this shit. I think it was Stockholm Syndrome, where I was just like, I don't really have anything better to do, and I was like, oh, I think I like this, even though looking back at it, literally 5 seconds later, I was like, this is very not that great. Yeah, I would not go back to reread Initial D. Though, if you're like a fan of racing, I would say that this is good. Like, you'll have a good time with it, but I'll put it below that for lead. This is Inside Mary. I think this is our last Shuzo Oshimi work. Inside Mary is, it's like that gender bender shit, except it's really weird and confusing and interesting. It's that slice of life stuff. Shuzo Oshimi's thing is taking a genre and making it fucked up. This with Flowers of Evil, he took a slice of life and made it fucked up.
with this is basically like a spiritual successor to Flowers of Evil. With Happiness, it was like a vampire manga and you made it fucked up. With this, it's the gender bender, it makes it fucked up. It's pretty cool, but like the twist is kind of whack. I'll say it's a solid pick, because like until you hit the end, it's interesting. When you hit the end, it's like what? That's kind of a weird thing to be this hung up about. Anyways, this is Instant Bullet. I'm going to be talking about this author a lot more later on, because we haven't reached any of his works yet. This is by Aka Akasaka, who is the same person that writes and draws Kaguya-sama Love is War, and the person that writes for Oshinoko down here. Instant Bullet is this is one of those things where I'm like, this needs like a remake or an adaptation or something, because this has potential. Instant Bullet is about a bunch of kids, and they get like these powers that they're supposed to use to destroy the world. And the thing is like that they would be like, why would I destroy the world? But they all like hate humanity. So it just ends up being like the tightrope act that you have to walk when writing a story like this is not being too edgy, but also genuinely representing the anguish of these kids and their lives. It's not good, but it could be fantastic. It could be fantastic. It just can't get its points across that well. If it could, it would be great, but it just doesn't. Yeah, that's where I'm putting it. I'm putting it in needs heavy improvement. Marimashita Iruma-kun, also known as Welcome Demon School Iruma-kun, it's like a My Hero. If you've read My Hero Academia, you'll like. If you liked My Hero Academia, you'll like this. This kid his parents are absolutely horrible, so that they like sell him off to a demon, and instead of like eating his soul or whatever, the demon's like, here, I'm gonna make you go to demon school for me because I've always wanted a grandson. And the guy that does that, apparently his name is Sullivan. He's like a big shot in the demon world, and he gives Iruma like a bunch of like magical tools because he needs to try to fit in demon school, because otherwise people will be like, what the fuck, a human? Like the start is straight up an isekai, and I fucking hate the fact that it decides to start off with an isekai. But you know, you gotta do what you gotta do, and it's pretty engaging so far. There was this arc in the middle. There's one arc in the middle of Iruma-kun that's actually surprising. That made me laugh way more than I thought it would. I rate it. It's a solid pick. This is I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. This you can actually find in like bookstores and stuff. It's one volume. It's one big volume. If you ever read Your Lie in April, you know what you're getting for in here. Girl has cancer. She's trying to make a friend. It's the main narrative is actually not about her. It's about him and how he's like a really like, you know, he's really like a isolated, you know, like shell of a guy, and it's like a rehabilitation narrative about him learning to socialize and have friends again, even after even after her inevitable death. There's a little twist in there at the end, which is kind of interesting. There's like it's well played and well placed. I would say it's really good. The main issue that it has is that I wish it was a little bit longer, just a little bit longer. Okay, this is Phantom Blood. Really? Like you're really rewatching or rereading Phantom Blood? You picked up JoJo part and you picked Phantom Blood? Phantom Blood, one thing I will say in its favor is that it's rather short, but holy shit, man, Phantom Blood is so basic. It's not, I don't even necessarily subscribe to the fact that Jonathan is a boring protagonist or the main plot is boring. It's just really normal. And, you know, if you want like a normal plot, you can go like to a billion other series for that. JoJo's, the reason you go to JoJo's is because it's whack, weird, energetic, and wild. That's why you go to JoJo's. And this just doesn't have much of that energy in it. Now, Battle Tendency, sheesh, this used to be in my top 10. But then it got supplanted somewhat recently. It says 6. This is Battle Tendency. Like, anybody can see this is Battle Tendency. There's nothing else that's Battle Tendency here. Battle Tendency is so fucking good. The pacing is excellent. The characters are fun. Joseph is an awesome protagonist. The fights are engaging. There's a ton of iconic moments. Sugi ni omae wa, you know, there's like a nigerun da yo, Smokey. I watched it and I read it, even though this has the weird early Iraqi art style where sometimes a thigh will be like the size of a fucking camel. And there's just like some really weird anatomy, but it's still like it managed to engage me even past that. That's what, like, I'm gonna say it. Stardust Crusaders needs some improvement.
Stardust Crusaders is way, way, way too long. Stardust Crusaders, it has to start off slow because they have to introduce the concept of stands and get you used to how stands work in combat. That makes sense. I understand that. But like once the plane crashes and they're making their way across the world, they're trying to get to Egypt. It slows down a little bit, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. There's some fun stuff there. But then when they get to Egypt, this shit pissed me off so much. You literally see a scene where Dio's like, I have recruited 6 more stand users. Go kill the Joestars. And I'm like, what the fuck? Just let me go fight Dio in Cairo. Like, if there were like 2 fights if there were 2 fights in Egypt before they got to Cairo and fight Dio, I would be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. There's like some like precursor fights to show how insane stuff's gonna get. But no, it just drags on so long. Whole Horse is an important character, and his stand is that he has a gun. He has a gun. Are you crazy? This shit is so weak compared to the other JoJo parts. The pacing is dog ass in part 3. But the only reason that it's not in Really or Never Again is because the Jotaro versus Dio fight is so iconic and actually still holds up really well, even compared to some of the craziness that happens in part 5 onwards. And I have enough respect for that fight that I'm going to put it in the top of needs heavy improvement. I've gone on a whole ass journey with Diamond is Unbreakable. When I first read Diamond is Unbreakable, I was a pretty big fan. I was like, yeah, man, Kira's awesome. And then when I thought about it like a week later, I was like, god damn, that shit took a long ass time to get to Kira, to the main concept though, right? And then I came back to it, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty decent. I would say that, like, okay, if you know anything about JoJo, you know what like the top 3 parts are gonna be. There's some variance. You know what like the top 4 is gonna look like in some sort of order. I think that Diamond is Unbreakable is usually right at the bottom of that top 4. I would say that Diamond is Unbreakable. The thing with DIU is that it's got that same like problem what I talked about with Dio, where he like just randomly summons a bunch of stands. Where for no good reason they have Okuyasu. Okuyasu lets. Like, I get that he's stupid, but also I'm talking about this from, like, the author's perspective. For what I feel like is not a good reason, Araki lets Okuyasu accidentally let Adam Heartfather escape, and then Adam Heartfather takes the golden arrow and creates a bunch of stand users for them to fight. And some of the stand users are pretty engaging and interesting, but holy shit, man. I feel like it's just not worth the time when... The thing is, like, the difference between Adam Heartfather's inclusion of those stands and not the inclusion of those stands is that you would go from Shigechi, who is the harvest guy, who they like scam to like get that money. They don't really scam him actually. They like make like a business deal with him, and then he tries to scam them on their like portion. They're like, what the fuck? And they get like mad at him. And then you move immediately. Well, no, you don't move immediately. You move on to the rat fight, which is the one with the rat, obviously, the one that has like the super that has like the weird like boils that grow on your arm or whatever. And then you would move on to sheer heart attack, and then you would have like I think like one fight after that. You would go to Adam Heartfather, you would beat Adam Heartfather, and then you would immediately after that move on to fucking Bites the Dust arc. And that would be so good for the overall pacing for part 4. I might be misremembering the order, and I'm sorry if I am. I just feel like Araki just really, like, in hindsight, the pacing here is just, man, it could be better. It could be better is what I'm saying. But it's still, like, out of the JoJo parts, it's a solid pick. I'd say I'd put it in very good, and I have a few issues. Because every single interaction with Kira is gold. Every single fight with Kira is solid gold. It's iconic, it's interesting, it's interesting, it's engaging, it's fun. Now we move on to Golden Wind. Now, when I said I had a journey with part 4, holy shit, I had a journey with part 5. When I first read part 5, I was like, this shit is so bad. Like, it just pissed me off. Then, like, everybody was like, you're insane, part 5 is pretty solid. And I was like, maybe they're right. And then I went back, and instead of reading it, I watched it. And I had a lot better time watching it, actually. It's one of the very few times that I've had a better time watching it. Because part 5 features a lot more, like, spatial stands that involve the manipulation of space. and movement in space. And in a 2D manga, my brain is really bad at like figuring out exactly what's going on, especially with like the older Araki art style. Stuff is a bit hard to tell apart, especially when I'm reading in black and white. In the anime, you can tell what they're talking about a lot easier, and the music is good, and it speeds the plot. It speeds the plot along at a reasonable pace. It's good. This Golden Wind is still the part that routinely pisses me off the most, because Golden Wind retroactively makes other parts more confusing. This Requiem the Requiem stand concept makes part 4 more confusing because it's called Killer Queen Bites the Dust. It's not called Killer Queen Requiem, so that makes that retroactively confusing. Why does Bruno see himself in the pillar when he fights Diavolo? Don't give me that epitaph shit. I'm telling you, Araki just made that shit up as an excuse to make you think that he wasn't just doing crazy shit to make it seem like Diavolo was flexing. Golden Experience, in the first interaction with Golden Experience, Leaky-Eyed Luca hits Giorno, and then he gets his head caved in, and then that ability is literally never utilized again. Until the end of the part ever. It's never seen again. The only thing that's seen is Golden Experience Requiem, which takes that concept to like a massive degree, which is cool, but also like Golden Experience, I think that it would just have been a better transition from regular Golden Experience into Golden Experience Requiem if you just had Giorno use that reflecting damage back on the opponent ability a bit more frequently. I will say though, like the character interactions are so heat towards the end. Like the end of Part 5 also does that thing where it, again, does that like Part 3, Part 4 thing where there's just some extra stand fights that just don't need to exist. Once they are on their way to the Colosseum, the fight with Sekko, like the fight with the guy that has Oasis and the guy that has Green Day, those two fights, delete them from the series. They don't need to exist. They're cool fights, but they're hurting the pacing, and it's really like fucking up. Like, come on, like, because you're basically saying that I would rather engage in a mediocre stand fight than get to the part where Bruno and Doppio are together, and Bruno is like he's basically a walking corpse at this point, and they're heading into the Colosseum. They meet you're telling me that you just want to delay that part for me? Are you insane? That's like one of the best parts of Golden Experience. That's like, Golden Wind. That Colosseum encounter is the best part of Golden Wind because the end is really, really good. I would put it like right. No, I can't. I have to be honest with myself here. It's going above Full Moon. You know what? Beastars is getting moved up. That's not what I was moving up. Beastars is getting moved up right here. Okay. Next up is Stone Ocean. I'm a big Stone Ocean believer. Stone Ocean and Battle Tendency, like every week, I change which one of these is on top. This week, I'm feeling more of a Stone Ocean on top, but I'm sure that it's like don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. Don't like where I'm ranking Battle Tendency compared to Stone Ocean, wait 5 minutes. I'll probably change it. Stone Ocean is the start of Araki getting his shit together. The pacing overall makes a lot more sense. There's no like stand fights where you're like, this just did not need to exist. Actually, I guess the Pucci creating some stand fights right after they escape from the prison is somewhat annoying. But you know, they have a bunch of time to wait until it's time for Maiden Heaven to show up. So they have nothing better to do than engage in those fights. And also, one of the things that I really like about Stone Ocean is that this is when Araki really started to go ham with generic stands. Like, generic stand fights in Part 6 hit different. There's Planet Waves, where it summons a meteor towards you. There's Sky High, which has these rods that you can control. There's fucking Bohemian Rhapsody, which makes fictional characters come to life. There's Underworld, which lets you go see like the past of the world. There's Jailhouse Lock, which is still my favorite generic stand fight in the series. No contest. This is when Araki really started going sicko mode with the generic stand fights, and it's just a good time. Every fight is cool, unique, innovative, and serves a purpose. And the ending is pretty cool. Like the Sea Moon Maiden Heaven stuff is awesome.
Moving on, Steel Ball Run. Steel Ball Run, I think I've talked to like hundreds of JoJo fans in my life, and I haven't met a single one that's read Steel Ball Run and doesn't think that it's the best JoJo part. I'm telling you, the JoJo fandom is a fucking chaotic place. There's arguments breaking out over the most minor things, but one thing that everybody that I've met can agree on is that Steel Ball Run is fucking goated. I'm telling you right now, in a few years, the Steel Ball Run anime is gonna come out. That shit's gonna change the world. Like, no joke. Steel Ball Run's gonna change the world. My final message and all. Steel Ball Run, honestly, I don't even want to talk about Steel Ball Run because I feel like everybody deserves the privilege of experiencing Steel Ball Run for themselves. So I'm just gonna leave that there. JoJolion is fucking weird. JoJolion is like Araki took all of the like. You remember if you've ever read Part 6 or watched Part 6? Well, not watched it yet. Well, maybe if this video takes like literally like 3 months to come out, then maybe you've watched this fight. But Sky High is a stand in Part 6 that is just really weird. It's like there's like a cryptid. It's based on a cryptid that we know doesn't exist because it's like camera blurs and stuff. And Araki's like, yeah, your stand is controlling these cryptids. And it's just like, he just put some shit on paper and said, that's a thing now. That's basically all of Part 8. I will say, there is some awesome stuff in Part 8, but it slows down really heavy in the middle. This shit took 10 years to come out. This took, I think JoJolion has been in production for longer than all of Norogami. That's crazy to think about. I was 4 when this started. That's insanity. JoJolion, I feel like, was just a bit too long. If you cut out some of the middle, this becomes like a right here part. But as it stands, I think I'm gonna put it like right here. All right, moving on to Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen has been, it's Kino media is what I like to refer to it as, which is everybody's fucking dick riding it so hard that it makes your head spin when just thinking about how many people are standing this. Jujutsu Kaisen is solid, but I don't think it's as good as I just don't think I get it. It's a solid pick, but I would not take Jujutsu Kaisen over Akame Ga Kill. I'd take it over Mormia though. My thing with Jujutsu Kaisen is that they just say shit. Like, the author just puts the word curse in front of stuff and says, yeah, that's a thing now. Yep, that's a thing. And it just feels really weird. Maybe by the end, I'll reread. Maybe like when this reaches its end, I'll reread it and I'll be like, man, this is actually really, really good. But right now, that's not it, Chief. Moving on. All right, Kaguya-sama Love is War. This was a surprise pick in my top 10. I'll be honest. Love is War it's everywhere these days. Like, people talk about it all the time. As I'm speaking right now, Love is War is 2 weeks away from ending. Man, no, sorry. Yeah, no, 2 weeks away from ending. We are on the last 2 chapters, and that's just crazy to think about. Love is War is the funniest thing I've ever read. No contest. 100% the funniest. Like, and the thing is, with a lot of like funny stuff like Psyche or Sket Dance or stuff like that, you end up with something that's really, really episodic in nature. Like, it doesn't really advance the main plot. Everything advances the main plot in Kaguya. The characters are hilarious. Their engagements are fun. There's some genuine meat to it. Towards the end, it also does that thing where it becomes more of a romance plot, but there's still always at least one really funny moment a chapter that makes me laugh. I don't think I've ever laughed as much reading anything as I have reading Kaguya-sama. I heavily enjoy Kaguya-sama. I believe it's my number 5 of all time, which is crazy to think about because it's so recent. But yeah, it's just really, really good. This is Kingdom. Kingdom is it's one of those long ass ones. It's still releasing. It's like 700 chapters deep. Yeah, it's very, very long. It's a historical manga about the Qin dynasty in China. This guy who wants to grow up to be a great general, but even though he's like an orphan, and it's just a bunch of ancient Chinese warfare and historical conflict. It's a good time. It's slowed down a bit recently for me, but it's still very good. I don't know if would I put it above GTO. I'll put it above GTO. It's good. It's really, really good. There's some arcs in here that I'm like, holy shit, that was awesome. And there's a ton of memorable characters, cool interactions. It's a good time. It's a good time. If you have literally nothing better to do than read 500 chapters of a manga, maybe Kingdom is for you. This is Komi Can't Communicate. Before I found my one true love in the comedy sense of Akasaka in Kaguya-sama, Akasaka is the author, by the way. Komi was my shit. Komi has done that thing where it turns into a like almost exclusively romance. It's still kind of funny, but also it like fell off for me because like the whole gimmick, the main gimmick that separates Komi apart from its counterparts is that like every single character is like definitionally one note. Like they have exactly one thing about them, and that's like their names are like based around that. So for example, there's like Osana Najimi, which apparently like if you like mess with that word in Japanese, that's like the name of the character. That means like childhood friend, I think. And the whole concept is that character is everybody's childhood friend. And like, okay, yeah, no, but like, you know, it kind of wears on you a bit. Like you know exactly how every character is going to interact. You know exactly what they're going to say. The gags are like okay, but like you get used to them. And I would say it's a solid pick. I think I would put it below Jujutsu Kaisen, right there. This is Kotaro Lives Alone. I didn't realize that it was a 2022 gym. I thought it was like 2019, 2020. This is a kind of depressing but also really wholesome story about this kid who has like no family. His dad's a shithead and he lives alone, and his neighbors all like get together to like help make his life better and enrich it, and he's a good kid. He's a good kid. I will say though, I watched this. I didn't read it. There's the manga that's releasing. The first season, there's one of the characters that they show up in the OP, and it's like, yeah, this is supposed to be really important, and they literally are in 3 of the episodes, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, the characters' introduction times are really whack, is what I'll say. I'll put it right here. 20th Century Boys might need to move up at some point, but you know. Okay, Land of Lustrous. One of my friends, IRL friends, put me onto this. He was like, dude, there's no way you won't love it. And he's right, there was no way I wouldn't love it. Land of the Lustrous is, it's like an action, it's like an action psychological thriller stuff about this gem, like, these are all the characters, the main characters that you meet at first are like named after gemstones and are made of gems. And our main character is Phospholite. I'm not really sure how you pronounce it. And the whole concept is that their hardness is super low, so they can't do anything. And there's these like moon characters that want to take them to the moon, and it's all about like learning about what the fuck is going on in this world. Is it better than like it's really interesting. It went in a direction that I just never would have expected. It's actually relatively close to ending. It seems like it's gonna have an interesting ending, but I might change my mind on that. I think I'm gonna put this above Chainsaw Man. I don't know about you, though. The thing is, the way I see it, if I feel like 2 series are similarly good, but one of them is completed and one of them is not, I'm taking the completed series because I know that this is good. And whereas this could be, the bag could be fumbled here. Like with Dr. Stone, the last 10 chapters, they fumbled the bag a little bit. Whereas if it's done already, you know it's good. This is Library Wars, Love and War. Dude, I don't even know how I got onto this series. I think I just saw it in like an ebook format, and I was like, sure. This is a very, very, very basic shoujo, except like it has some like cool action scenes and stuff. There's some interesting conflicts. It's a decent pick, I would say. It's not going above inside me. Are you insane? This is Light and Shadow. This is a Korean work. This girl, she's like she's like a maid, and she's engaged to like some random prince, some noble, and obviously he's pissed about it. But then like when you get to know both the characters better, you learn more about them, and you go, okay, this is kind of crazy, and shit's going, and like stuff starts to get more and more insane. It's actually, it has a pretty fun, solid resolution. The pacing is a bit weird. The plot is kind of obvious, but and the resolution is also pretty obvious. The way I see it, you go above Akane-Banashi. Link Click. I got put onto this by just some random people online. They're like, you should definitely watch Link Click. And I watched Link Click, and let me tell you something. You should definitely watch Link Click. 'Cause Link Click is really good. These two guys run like a shop where you can ask them to go back in time and do something for you. And so this guy goes back in time and does shit, and like it's like a cascading events, and it's just really interesting. It's just a really interesting sci-fi story. It's Chinese, which is kind of new to me because it's the first like Chinese series I've ever watched. It's 11 episodes. It's very good 11 episodes. There's some good humor there. There's some good character interactions. There's a little bit of nice action. There's some good suspense there. It's a good time. I would put it like right here. Yeah, that's where it goes. This is Magical Girl Sight. I finished reading this literally 2 days ago, and it was fucking really. This needs some heavy improvement. Like the concept is interesting. It's like that fucked up magical girl stuff that if you watched Madoka Magica, you know what I'm talking about. Even though I've never watched it, I know that's how it goes. But like there's like a tie-in to like supplemental media, but they don't tell you anything about the supplemental media that's like enough to let you understand the main plot. So you have to like read an entire other manga to like understand the plot of this. And also the characters are fucking weird, and like they try to like establish like redemption arcs for characters, but the characters that they want to establish redemption arcs for never do anything to redeem themselves. I'm like, what are you trying to accomplish here? It just feels like a really weird. It just feels like a swing and a miss for me. I'm just gonna be honest here. I just don't get it. Now this is Mashal, Magic and Muscles. This is a Weekly Shonen Jump action comedy series. This is Mashburn. I forget what it's. I think his name is Mashal Mashburn. There's no fucking way that's right. No, his name is Mash Burn Dead. Okay. Basically. He lives in a world of magic, except he doesn't have any magic, kind of similar to Black Clover, and he's like unbelievably strong, similar to Black Clover. But like when I say unbelievably strong, I mean like there's a scene where he takes like a metal and he like puts his finger inside of like 4 fingers there, and he like drags it down to make like a tennis racket, and he does like the Ocarina of Time Ganon fight shit where he like tennis volleys their magic back at them. This shit is really fucking funny. It's a solid pick, I'd say. I would put it like around Bleach. This is Me and Roboco. I feel like this was made for me. Well, it's not, because the people that it's made for is a very big group of people. Basically, to understand the concept of Roboco, you have to actually understand Doraemon, or Doraemon, which is a kids show that is insanely popular, and for some reason it was also insanely popular in India, and I watched it as a kid and I fucking loved it. This is like a parody of that, and it uses the established concepts and tropes in Doraemon to make a really, really funny, engaging comedy. I'm telling you, like, this is good enough that I'm going to watch the anime that comes out of it next year. And I don't watch anime much, if at all. Like, this is very, very good. I would put it. Every single chapter makes me laugh my ass off. Not as much as Kaguya, but I mean, I don't think anything makes me laugh as much as Kaguya. It just hits me in the right spot. My Hero Academia, it's a solid pick, dude. Like, there's people that gas this up as the best show ever. There's people that talk shit about it. No, it's alright. It's alright. I'm not gonna call it. I guess considering that it's in the middle tier, I guess it's technically mid. But like, come on, like it's okay. It's gotten actually a lot better in recent times. I think I would put it in the top of solid pick overall. This is Monster, also by Naoki Urasawa. If for somehow you remember, the same person that did 20th Century Boys. This is everything I love about 20th Century Boys, but taken to the next level. It's the most engaging suspense thriller that I've ever read. Our main character is a surgeon. He decides to operate on this kid who has like a head injury and is about to die instead of this like big shot. And not only does he get like demoted at his job, the kid also grows up to be a serial killer. And so our main character now has to like figure out what the hell's going on, go across all of Germany, because this takes place in Germany,
and like try to undo try to uncover what's going on. It's so goddamn engaging. The characters are written excellently. There's a ton of like cool like subversion of like genre classics. It's a very, very good time. Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun, I've never read anything that's as chaotic as this. I've watched Fulikuli, which, as we established, is way more chaotic, but this is a very chaotic manga. I'm gonna be honest, it's very hard to sell me on 4-panel. I'm just not a 4-panel kind of guy, but Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun sold me on 4-panel. It's just a funny rom-com, except this one is still like in its comedy stage, so we still got a good time ahead of us. Would I put it? I don't know. I don't think so. Okay, moving on, we have Moriarty the Patriot. If you ever watched the BBC Sherlock series with Benedict Cumberbatch and you liked it, you need to watch this, because this is very fun. Basically, it's like retelling Sherlock Holmes stories, except the main caveat here is that our main character is actually Moriarty, and he's cast as like somebody who's he's like the Bernie Sanders of this world, except he actually kills people. He's like Eat the Rich. He's seen the corrupt nobles of London, and he's like, I'm gonna fix this, so he does that. That's basically about what it is, and he gets Sherlock to chase after him to give them more chase after this noble killer to give them more notorieties to keep the nobles more in line. It's a good fucking time. It's still releasing, so I'm putting it below Jigoku Raku. This is NTNN, Majin Tante Nogami Nuro, which is the first like serialized series made by Yusei Matsui, who made Assassination Classroom. This one, I'd say if it fits your taste, you'll have a good time. It's like this has a really weird sense of humor. There's some really disturbing and kind of awesome visuals, with like body horror and stuff. There's some like mystery, there's some cool action. It's like, I don't know if I want to call it. No, I'm not gonna call it that, because that comparison makes no goddamn sense. It's an okay series. It's a bit long though. This is My Neighbor Seki. Basically, the entire structure of this entire series is that this girl is our main character. She sits next to Seki, who is the most ADHD kid on the planet, who absolutely cannot like just sit still in class, and so he brings like increasingly elaborate like stuff to his class. He'll like act out medieval battles on his table. He'll like pretend to be an archaeologist in his at his table, and it's just her being like, "Are you insane? What are you doing?" And watching this dude doing crazier and crazier stuff. It's a fun read. This is My Next Life is Villainous, All Routes Lead to Doom. I know, like, just listening to that name makes you want to exit out of the video, and I don't know how I got onto this. I know this was mislabeled as a graphic novel. It's actually an LN, and I picked it up, and I was like, okay, sure, fuck it, whatever. I don't really have anything else to read, so I read it, and this is funny. This is the funniest like harem concept I've ever read. Basically the whole concept is that this girl, she's like transported into this body and this character is like the villain of a dating sim game. And in every ending in that dating sim game, the character she's playing as, Katarina, meets some horrible end. And so now she in Katarina's body has to figure out a way to make her life better, and she comes up with increasingly hilariously absurd ways to try to keep herself safe. Like, one of the main characters is this guy. He's like a prince, and she learns that he's afraid of snakes, and so she for some reason perceives a non-existent threat from him. She perceives a threat from him when it doesn't exist, and she prepares disposable fake snakes so that when she runs away to escape her presumed death, and he comes after her, she can toss the snakes at him and make him scared. She's just a big idiot, and it's very funny. She assembles a harem on accident because like, everybody's enamored with like how kind of a person she is, and they're all like clamoring over her, and she's like, why are you guys being so weird about it? She doesn't even understand a single goddamn thing. She thinks that they're all like scheming to like murder her or something. This is paranoia at its funniest. This is don't toy with me, Miss Nagatoro. Never again. I really fucking hate Nagatoro. I thought like people were like, oh yeah, it's pretty decent, and I saw that it was pretty popular, and I was like, okay, maybe it's pretty good. I was like, it's a rom-com, so if the comedy's pretty good, I can probably get into it. This is the worst rom-com I've ever had the displeasure of being involved with. Nagatoro has exactly one joke. Not the character, the entire series has one joke, and that's that she likes the guy, but she like teases him. That's the only joke. And we're like they're like 130 chapters in, and people are still reading this shit. Are you insane? Please put your life towards something, like put your reading time towards something better than this. This is so goddamn, it's so bad. It's just the same joke every single chapter, over and over and over and over and over again. I got tired of it within 50 chapters. I stuck it out to 100 because I thought that maybe that there would be something good, and also I didn't have anything better to do. So, and then by that time, this is one of the few manga that has ever managed to make me hate it so much that I actually dropped it. That's so crazy. That you should. I'm usually so like willing to deal with basically anything in manga. I mean, you could tell I put fucking Future Diary in this tier. This shit is egregious. Speaking of egregious, Naruto. Naruto, this needs some improvements. The first part of Naruto, like the pre-time skip, is relatively enjoyable. Post-time skip is horrible, with the exception of any scene that has Itachi in it. Itachi is the GOAT. He's actually managed to make it onto he's like one of my favorite characters, despite his home series being a series that I fucking revile. I really don't like Naruto, especially post-time skip. I just don't like it. Thank God for Itachi, because otherwise I would not be able to deal with this. Moving on, this is Evangelion. This is actually the manga. I watched the anime and I didn't really like it, but I feel like I might be like insane on that and like wasn't paying attention well enough. So I just decided to not rank it instead, and I'm gonna rank the manga, which actually has a different ending than the anime, because the anime doesn't actually have an ending, and you have to see a movie to get the full story. This was really good. It was really good. I would say it's like Fire Force but better. Which is a comparison that I'm sure doesn't make a lot of sense to people, but like I'm just comparing like the scope of the climax. I would put it like below Alice in Borderland, I think is where I would put it. I'm sorry, Alice in Borderland. Okay, Silent Voice needs to get moved up. Like right here. Alice in Borderland needs to get moved up right here. Okay, there we go. This is Noragami. This is actually kind of an important. This is actually kind of a convenient timing, because Noragami is actually very close to its end. I will say this is the most rock solid. Like these three. I'm telling you, you cannot go wrong with them. If you read any of these three, you will have a good time if you like shonen. Noragami is just it's got good action, good characters, good plot, good abilities and stuff. It's a good time. This is O Maidens in Your Savage Season. I found this actually kind of an interesting read. It's basically it's like exploring the like these. It's like a bunch of like middle school or high school girls, and they're like, I wonder, what do you guys want to do before you die? And then one of the girls is like, I want to get laid. And everybody else is like, what the fuck? Why would you say that? And then like everybody's like lives are changed because of that, because they get like apparently they awaken because of that one moment, which is kind of weird, but I think it's kind of interesting, because it picks a topic and explores that topic. No fuss, no muss. It just gets the job done, and I think that's solid. I'm gonna put it like below Punpun probably. I read it relatively recently, so I remember it. This is Onani Master Kurosawa. This shit, I don't even know why it got to the end. Like, this is definitely really material. Because basically, this dude is a fucking weirdo. And he, like, jerks off in the girl's bathroom. And then some girl finds him. And then she uses him as leverage to, like, take advantage on the girl. Like, to get revenge on girls that are bullying her. And then he eventually is like, this is horrible. I'm a terrible person. And he, he tries to confesses his sins and like tries to repent for them basically, and he tries to get her to stop being so spiteful about everything as well. And it's a kind of interesting plot, but the whole concept is just so fucking weird, dude. I can't get over that. We move on to One Piece. I mean, it's going in this tier. I just don't know where. I think it's gonna go right there. No, it's gonna go right there. One Piece it was in my top 10 for a long time, so I guess it makes sense that it goes here. One Piece is so, like, good, man. The thing is, I just can't put it in my top 10 because we still have quite a ways to go before the series is over. I refuse, because there is plenty of time for... I don't believe that Oda will fumble the bag in this series, but it's possible. So I don't want to put this into the top tier while there's still some uncertainty on that front. Especially considering that we have no goddamn idea what direction the story is going to go in. So it's very, like, possible for the bag to be fumbled. One Punch Man, I like One Punch Man. I just don't think I like One Punch Man as much as the average person. Like, people are like, it's a very deep commentary about the psychology. I'm like, dude, I thought it was just a funny series where people fight each other. Like, I don't really pick up the super, Saitama is obviously, like, depressed about his life because he's got nothing better to do, but also, like, I don't think I feel like that's not the main focus. I think it's a comedy above everything else. But maybe I'm giving the author not enough credit, whatever. This is Oshinoko. I don't want to spoil fucking anything about this. It's really, really good. It's made by the same person that does Kaguya-sama. This is like, if it keeps going this well, it's going to get into my top 10 at some point. And it's going to be really tough figuring out who to boot for Oshinoko, but goddamn, it's good. Next year, this is getting aired. I would suggest watch the first episode. The first episode is going to be mad long because they were like, yeah, make the first episode 90 minutes for some reason. I would suggest watching it. I think you will enjoy it. I think you might enjoy it. This is Our Dreams at Dusk. That's the only part of the name I remember. It's kind of like a similar concept as Omane's New Savage Season, where it's about like exploring sexuality, but it's also like I think it's done a bit better. There's some nice art in there. There's also some like really weird stuff, like weird like throwaway weird panels stuff. There's just some like really weird off-putting stuff happens. Not like in terms of plot. There's just some stuff that you like where you see it and you go, what the fuck was that? Like, what? And then you just forget about it 5 seconds later. But I don't forget. I never forget. This is Persona 4 the animation. This is really fucking good. Persona 4 is like one of my favorite games, I was like, I don't really know if the animated adaptation is going to be that good. This is and I was like, I already played the game, so why would I watch it? No. Persona 4 the animation is not Persona 4 the game plus bonus. It is bonus plus Persona 4 the game story. This has so much extra shit in it that's so funny. Every single line is delivered immaculately. The comedy is perfect. There's so many memorable scenes. I cannot stress enough. If you like Persona 4, you need to watch this because it will make you will love it. I'm telling you this right now. All right, Pokemon Adventures. Okay, I'm just gonna go. There's quite a bit to talk about here. I'm just gonna try to I'm just gonna go over an overall like gloss over what Pokemon Adventures is about and just give you like a basic reason of why I'm gonna place each of these in the category. Pokemon Adventures is a more like serious take on the Pokemon universe, and more like realistic. It functions in a way that Pokemon would work if it were a bit more realistic. It takes the Pokedex entries, it takes them seriously. Pokemon are a real threat. People that misuse Pokemon are scary. Like Kyogre and Groudon Awakening is a legitimate threat, and people like are going to people will die because of that. Sometimes a decent amount of time there's real consequences, and the characters are reasonably well written. The art is beautiful. It's like everything about the Pokemon anime except you remove Ash Ketchum, so it's actually good this time. The original Pokemon Adventures Red, Blue, and Green, that arc it's a solid pick. It's nothing crazy. It's a solid introduction. I would put it like right here. It's a solid story. Actually, I want to put it right here. Yeah. It climbed up the ranks pretty fast. Pokemon Adventures Yellow, I don't really get it. Like Pokemon Adventures Yellow, I just don't like Yellow as much as a protagonist. So I don't really like it that much. And also, like, it's just kind of a weird part. Pokemon Adventures GSC is fucking goated. GSC ties in the previous characters in such an excellent way that I didn't even think it was possible. This is like, if you want to enjoy Pokemon again, and you were like, man, like the games have been falling off recently. Mild agree, but also mild disagree on that take, by the way. And the anime has never been good, which is facts. I like Pokemon, but I just don't think there's much good Pokemon stuff out there. Pokemon Adventures, if you read up to GSC, you will have a great time. Okay, moving on, we have Ruby and Sapphire. This shit pisses me off, man. This is like the perfect arc, except literally in the last, like, 3 chapters, they pull some insane shit that this just like an ass pull, just because it's a manga that has to be for kids. You can't have there be real consequences. The main plot is so engaging that I have to put it like at least here, but god damn, if that part wasn't there, this would be like somewhere in the top 10. No joke. It's so good. Fire Red and Leaf Green it's like a lot of these Pokemon arcs have like some like slice of life stuff where, you know, they're like hanging out with their Pokemon. This is all action, and if you're into that, you'll have a good time. And I'm into that, and I had a pretty good time. Where did I put? Yeah. Emerald is kind of a weird arc. I think it's mostly because I don't really get Emerald's visual design, but also the whole concept is just kind of odd. Like I don't really get it. Like, if I'm being entirely honest, it's if it fits your tastes. DPP is the other goated arc along with GSC. DPP is a lot more slice of life focused. Diamond and Pearl are those are these two guys, Diamond and Pearl. They're like a traveling comedy duo. They're not traveling, they're just like a comedy duo, and they accidentally get a trip across all of the Sinnoh region because of some like mistakes, and they get to explore the world. They get to know each other better while escorting Platinum Berlitz, aka they call her Lady, because they don't actually know her name for a long time, and it's actually a relatively touching story. Like, I really enjoyed it. I'd say you'd be in better hands. I'd say you're in about as good of hands as with these three as you are with DPP. Heart Gold Soul Silver was fucking weird, but also badass. Like, it has Arceus, so they were like, we can just do whatever we want because it's literally the god Pokemon, and it's kind of based, but also like it's weird. This is the Prince of Tennis. Let me tell you, this is the only reason I ever read this is because I actually like tennis, and this is a very clear-cut, basic, solid sports shonen. If you read Prince of Tennis, you will have a good time. If you read Prince of Tennis and you like sports stuff, you'll have a good time. It's good. There's fun characters, cool matches. It's a solid pick, honestly. I feel like I should go back and reread it at some point. Why is Attack on Titan down here? I think I accidentally moved it. Hold up. Attack on Titan was like right. I think I'm gonna put Attack on Titan right here. Promised Neverland, despite the fact that they are obviously grilled. Despite the fact that Promised Neverland, like, the later parts became kind of ass, I still think it's pretty good. Like, the whole concept is just a solid concept, and they have fun characters and they go through cool stuff. It's just a solid plot. Siren, this I remember like reading like the first couple volumes and then never touching it again because I just forgot about it until like literally like a year ago. It's like these guys get transported into the future and they have to like fight the world. They have like fight things to get back or something, and it like gives them the power to save the future of the world because apparently in the future the world's gonna be destroyed or something. It's kind of odd, but also it's kind of badass. Like I'm not doing it justice in this description. I put it around where is. Pupa, this shit is big trash. I read it because I was like, to be fair, that's absolutely exactly what I expected. Whenever people say, like, this is trash, you should read it, this is what they mean. This is horrible, and you should absolutely read it. Pupa is... It's just... I don't even feel comfortable describing it. It's just really weird. This is quintessential quintuplets. I used to be a fan of it, not anymore. I'll put it into the for your taste. Oh, if it fits your tastes. If it fits your taste. I'll put it like right here. I'm just not that big of a fan of it. Rave Master, even though... This is made by the same guy that does Fairy Tail. Rave Master is legitimately has a worse shonen plot than Fairy Tail, but it has less fan service, which makes it about as good as some of these shonen. Like, no cap. Also, Jujutsu Kaisen needs to go above Demon Slayer. That's insanity. Yeah, Rave Master's alright. It's fine. Record of Ragnarok. This is something that more people need to start checking out now. Basically, the gods get together, and they're like, humanity's been too stupid for too long. We're gonna kill them all. And then Valkyrie is like, why don't we do this cool thing where you have 13 versus 13, humans versus gods, and that determines whether humans live or not. And the gods are like, no way. And then there's 13 fights. So far, I believe we're on fight 6 or 7. The schedule has been changed a lot, and the representation of the gods is kind of fucked up because there's like, it's like the Greek gods just took over the representation. It kind of makes me mad because there's no like, it's fine. But like the action is good. The action, this actually has some of the clearest action sequences I've ever read, which is really like astonishing because I suck at deciphering action scenes. I'm just like, when I see an action scene, I'm just like, okay, stuff happened. So, and I still like shonen, which is kind of crazy. I would say that Record of Ragnarok is fine. Chainsaw Man needs to go with these. Yeah, I think that's a good spot for it. This is Rose and Garden Saga. I was late night browsing and I stumbled upon this and I was like, I hate that I like this. I wish I didn't like Rose and Garden Saga, but it's like fun as fuck. Like it's basically just porn, but honestly, the character designs are actually really visually striking. There's funny interactions. The jokes are really like raunchy, as you might expect with this kind of media, but there's also a really fun battle shonen disguised under that. Like, it's not shonen because it has to be like at least seinen. I like it, man. I like it a lot. I'm putting it up here. That's right. I put it below Dr. Stone though. Psyche K, this. So I know my top 10 list for manga. I'm gonna put Psyche on here, and I'm gonna. You know what? If it's a little bit more than 10, that's fine. That's fine. Psyche is just the best comedy ever written. He's a psychic, but he wants to live a normal life. There's a bunch of insane weirdos with him. All of them are hilarious. The chapters are hilarious. The episodes are hilarious. It does everything that a comedy wants to do perfectly, and the dub is goated. Sakamoto Days is it's fallen off a little bit for me. If you've ever like this has like the say a similar like basic starting point as something like Gintama, where it's like people are at like a store, like they quote unquote work somewhere, but they just like do like stupid shit all day, and it's like funny action. But like it's become a lot more action focused recently, which is still fine, and the action is interesting. But also like, man, I preferred Sakamoto Days when it was main genre comedy instead of main genre action. This is Sword Art Online. I don't want to put it into solid pick overall. I'm putting it like right. Oh no, I'm putting it like right here. Where's Sword Art Online? I just oh no, it's over here. That's just not true. It's like right here. This is Seraph of the End. I really don't know how to judge this because what I've read so far is actually Fuego, but also we are nowhere close to the end of this. We're nowhere close to the end of this story, so I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna put it around like the Fire Force tier. Actually, put it with Beastars. It just works a bit better. Yeah. Okay, this is Shaman King. I read this as a kid, and then apparently, like it went on hiatus when I was like 12, and then it came back semi-recently, and they finished it. It's a solid thing. It's a bit like hammy sometimes, and it's like, okay, like it lays it on a bit thick, but Sket Dance, I'm reading this, like, I read up like chapter 220, like, literally yesterday night. This is just really funny. This is like Psyche or Gintama. It's that breed of comedy series. I'm putting it with Persona 4. These are the funny series, so like I'm putting it with them. You know what? Robocop gets moved up in that case. Well, Oshinoko also gets moved up in that case because it's really good. Solo Leveling, I hate this. I was like, this is the most undeserved reputation any series has ever had. Solo Leveling is the definition of everything that is wrong with modern manga. And you know what the worst part is? There's an anime coming out of it this year. I can guarantee you Solo Leveling is going to become the next Jujutsu Kaisen. People are not going to be able to stop talking about it. Like, oh my god, it's so heat. It's not. Solo Leveling is literally this one dude, Sung Jin Woo. He's just going through life with he just steamrolls opponents over and over and over. It's just a power fantasy, and it's so fucking boring. He faces very little competition. It just gets boring. Okay, Soul Eater. I don't actually like the main plot too much, but the fucking visual design of this series is so unique and engaging. I really like the visual design of Soul Eater. I'm gonna put it up there. Spice and Wolf, I actually read this somewhat recently. This is like main genre romance. Maybe it's like main genre barter, because it's all about like trading and stuff. But main genre politics, maybe I would put it like right here. If you like romance, you'll probably like it though. Spy X Family. That's right, I said the X. If you don't want me to say it, don't put it in the fucking title. It's good. It's like Golden Kamuy, except less extreme when it comes to like the basic setup of it. The Spy X Family is action, comedy, romance, and also I forget espionage put into one package. Golden Kamuy is like 8 different genres put into one package. Spy X Family is a lot more. I think it's only going to get better as time goes on, but also we're pretty early into the runtime of it, so I'll just wait on it. Steins Gate. I do not regret watching Steins Gate. I'll say it has some problems. Like, it has several problems. First of all, everybody knows with Steins Gate, the start is really slow. Everybody knows this, and we're all used to it by now. The second issue that I have with it is feels like the last 3-4 episodes of Steins Gate are from like a different show. Like they just completely abandoned the main, like the method that they were using to accomplish their goals and just do something else. Other than that, it's still really fun. Like I would suggest you watch it. Sundome. I'm putting this in here against my better judgment. It's like really horny, but also it's kind of like precious. Like the character interactions there and the way they, the way they care about each other are kind of precious, and I have a little bit of respect for it. This is Takane and Hana. I just stumbled across this. This is a shoujo, but also it's really funny. So I would say very good. Might have a few issues. Feels like the ending is a bit rushed, but maybe it's not, and I'm just stupid. But I'm putting this shit below One Punch Man. Yeah, right there. Takopi's original Sin. That's what this is. This is like, I don't know, like 30 chapters long. This shit is fucked. This is messed up. Like this is also depression fodder, except I think it sells a more compact story, and it sells it a lot better. I would say like right like, no, it's not better than Record of Ragnarok.
I put it right there. Tegami Bachi letter B. I stumbled across this when I was like a little younger, and it had like 12 volumes out, and I was like, okay. And then I just dropped it, and then I picked it back up again, and I didn't realize the main character's name is Lag Seeing. So it just felt weird when like character said, "Hey Lag," and I'm like, what the fuck? This needs some improvement. Like the concept is not bad, but the way that they execute it is really like basically the concept is that these guys deliver letters across this land, and the letters serve as like people's hearts. So like, you know, it's like a lot of like emotional letters that people send to like their loved ones with a lot of heavy conflicts and stuff. But also like by the end, it just becomes like a weird like action, like a battle shonen. But it's also like the combat system is really weird. I just don't really. I just think that it really needed some fixing. Okay, this is better than Fairy Tail. This is the Horizon. This is another one of those depression fodder ones. It's very short, very short, very sad, it's very powerful, honestly. I would put it like right, honestly, I'll put it right there. Not better than GSC, because GSC is really good. This is 3 Days of Happiness. This, oh my god. 3 Days of Happiness is, I think, the single best book, like, the single best singular book I've ever read in my life. If you've never read 3 Days of Happiness, you're literally, I don't want to say you're literally stupid, but I feel like you're like a little stupid. Or, well, if you have had the choice to read it and you know about it and you haven't read it, what is wrong with you? If you don't know about it, then you should definitely try it out. 3 Days of Happiness is just a really powerful story about the value of someone's life, what it means to be happy, and what's the cost of doing business in this world. It's really somber, it's a bit melancholy, but it's also really, you know, it's profound, it's powerful. The end just hits different. It's very good. Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, bro. I remember when this shit used to be a easygoing slice of life. This series changed, man. At the start, Toilet Bound Hanako-kun used to be like a fun slice of life, and then now it's like a hard-boiled, like, psychological drama thriller, and it does both very well. I just think that it's kind of funny. I'm not that caught up yet, so I don't feel that comfortable rating it this highly. I'll put it above this Garden 7. Okay. Next up is Tokyo Ghoul. Alright. Tokyo Ghoul original. It's an interesting story. It's basically a new take on the vampire formula, which is fine and makes sense. Tokyo Ghoul, I think, has it handles its stuff relatively well. It has it's a little slow at times, but it's solid. I would put it like right here. Tokyo Ghoul Re takes everything Tokyo Ghoul builds and just cranks it up to 11. Tokyo Ghoul Re, I literally own all of the volumes of Tokyo Ghoul Re. They're like 10 feet behind me. Not 10 feet, I might say they're like 4 feet behind me on my shelf right now. It's so good. Tokyo Ghoul Re is it takes, this is the Radiant Dawn to the Path of Radiance. It takes everything that the prequel made and makes it work to a billion times like the original's extent. It's very, very, very good. Tokyo Revengers. Speaking of which, this is actually a pretty good time to talk about this as well, because this is about to end. It's good, but it really it kept going for one arc beyond what it should have gone for. I'm just gonna be honest. Right here. Tower of God. Literally, like this is very good, except the pacing is so bad. The Tower of God is slow as molasses, and it has like the power scaling issue that solo leveling kind of does too, but it's handled a bit better, I think, and I think there's more like characters that are like engaging and have screen time to make it a more fun experience overall. I just think that this shit needs to, I don't know about speed up, but I just don't think the pacing is for me. And I've read like all of One Piece like 3 times, so definitely it's just that the chapters are really slow. This is To Your Eternity. This is made by the same person that did the Silent Voice. This is a weird series. I think it's good, but also, like, I have no we're like 160 chapters into it, and I still have no goddamn idea what point the author is trying to make here. It's just, like, it just feels a bit confusing in terms of, like, direction. It's kind of aimless, and maybe that's kind of the whole point. It's just supposed to be, it's supposed to be aimless, but, basically it's about this wolf right here, which
whenever it like becomes its name is, they call him Fushikun, and whenever he becomes friends with somebody and they die, he can absorb their like matter, like it's like a all otherworldly being that can take the form of somebody else. So, and there's these like things called knockers where when they show up, if they like kill Fushi in that form, he can't transform back into that form, and he's immortal. So like he has to like fight off the knockers because they also kill humans and stuff. So it's a kind of interesting plot, but I have no idea what they're trying to do with this one. Umineko, when they cry. Okay, so I decided that I wasn't going to be rating all of JoJo's parts separately and all of the Pokemon Adventures parts separately and all of Umineko separately. It's a decision that I really wish I didn't have to make, because I would love to be able to rate all 8 parts of Umineko separately. But as a whole, Umineko is very good, but it has some issues. There's some consistent. Umineko is fucking impossible to describe. I suck at this. It's a mystery, okay? It's horror, thriller, mystery, supernatural question mark. It's about like the subversion of the concept of the mystery genre and taking it to like a logical extreme by making the mystery not necessarily even be about what happened, but it's about whether what happened was done using supernatural means or by means possible to humans. And it's just really hard to explain, but I think you should try it. There's a decent chance you won't like it, but if you like it, you'll really, really like it. So I think it's worth trying out. This is Undead Unluck. Honestly, this series has only gotten better with time. Undead Unluck, when I first read it, I was like, this shit is really, really weird. I don't really get it. Now we're like 80 chapters deep and shit is going crazy. Next year, David Productions, the same guys that do JoJo and Fire Force, are doing Undead Unluck, and I'm fucking hyped for that. I can't wait for that. I guess I could give you a little bit of an overview. Undead Unluck is about this girl whose ability is that who basically whoever she touches has insane bad luck, and this guy who's unkillable, and he's basically trying to die because he's like, I don't know, I'm just kind of tired of living, and so he's trying to find, he's in search of the greatest death ever, but then like some evil organization shows up who's trying to kidnap them both, and then shit goes super haywire, and then it goes super duper haywire, and then everything turns upside down, and now you're in like a completely different genre. Things have changed crazily. The second act of Undead Unluck goes pretty hard, I'll say it. Speaking of stuff that goes pretty hard, Usogui. This is something that I finished, I think, like, literally less than a month ago. And it is in my number 4 spot already. Usogui is the best. Like, I've I don't have stuff like like Gambling Apocalypse, Kaiji, Kakegurui, Liar's Game on here, because I've read like a decent chunk of all of them. Well, I've watched a decent chunk of Kakegurui, season 1 that is. But I never really none of them really clicked with me until I hit Usogui. This is the godfather of the gambling series genre. Usogui is so goddamn good. It's actually unreal how good it is. It's pretty brutal in some of its scenes. But if you're willing to deal with some like body horror and stuff, this goes hard. Let me tell you that much. Some of the setups that they have for the scenes in Usogui are so crazy and so badass that you will never think about it. You will never forget them. This is Uzumaki Spiral into Horror by Junji Ito. This is a classic horror work, and I'm putting it into Never Again, not because it's bad, but because I don't know why I read this. I can deal with horror if it's not like a main genre horror. Do you get what I mean? Because, okay, Umineko is horror, but it's not main genre horror. Main genre is mystery. There's also stuff like there's also like body horror, I guess, but I don't really care too much about that. I guess, and that it's the same thing with like Higurashi, which is what the author of Umineko did before they did Umineko, which is a different series named Higurashi When They Cry. Uzumaki Spiral into Horror is literally full horror, and I don't like it. I couldn't sleep the night that I read this. And also, like, at the end of the story, there's like a bunch of mysteries surrounding the village that these guys like live in, and at some point, and they're never really like properly like sought out and resolved. It just feels like the story just ends a bit early. I feel like, I don't know, I just don't like the ending too much as well. This is Witch Hat Atelier. This is an absolutely gorgeous manga. It kind of reminds me of your average like young adult novel in the West, and I mean that like, and I'm talking about like the good ones. It's a good series. I like it. I haven't read too much of it. Hasn't come out yet, but it's so far it's really good. This is World Trigger. I actually started reading this about 2 weeks ago. World Trigger it's just a solid shonen. I don't know if it's the solid shonen of this camp category. I think it's in the solid shonen of this tier category, because these are built different, and also these two are done. Well, I'm talking about part one for the most part of Chainsaw Man, and these two are done. This one's almost done. This one's like in the last arc, but not really, almost done. This is not only not done, but also it's not as tightly set up as something like Jigokuraku or Noragami. Otaku love is hard for otaku is like it's like a rom-com. I don't know why I keep picking up these damn rom-coms when I know that it's going to turn into romance-based genre eventually, and I won't like it as much. If it fits your taste, you'll like it. I'll put it with Quince. I'll put it a little bit higher than Quince, actually. This is your boy Komig. The reason I found this is because it had actually the hardest OP this entire year. And the series is actually pretty fun. It's about this. It's technically an isekai. This guy is like a general from the Three Kingdoms period. And he's resurrected into modern day Tokyo, and he becomes part of like he helps this girl try to become basically like a singing, like a pop star basically, and he uses his like medieval strategies to help to accomplish this by like politicking and stuff. It's a fun time. I'll put it like right. I don't know if it's I don't know about really really good. It's very good though. I'll put it around where Sakamoto Days is. This is Yotsuba and exclamation point, also known as Yotsubato. This is the most wholesome thing I've ever read in my entire life. Basically, this is Yotsuba. She's a little girl, and she does little girl things, and she acts like a little girl, and she's just really wholesome, and that's it. And you know what? It doesn't need to be anything more than that, because that's all it needs. It's fucking awesome. The entire cast of this series are able to act like kids because Yotsuba helps them, and like become free of their own problems. She makes their lives better. They make her life better. It's just a really nice, good, feel good, wholesome story. But it's also monthly, which makes me really sad because I wish it was weekly. This is Your Lie in April. As I said, this and Ass Class are the reason why I enjoy tearjerkers. Looking back, like when I first read it, I was like, "This is goated." Looking back at it, I would say it's like right here. I'd say it's better than honest. I'd say it's honestly better than I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. It's pretty good. But I've just seen this done better. Your Name. Honestly, this is a manga, and it's probably just not. It's probably just doesn't come across better on paper than compared to like on like a theater screen. I saw a lot of people gas up the movie, and I'm sure it's good, but I just didn't. It's okay, but it's not like world changing for me. I put it like right here. This is the Yu-Gi-Oh manga. Holy shit, this stuff was bad. This is bad, but I love it. Okay, like the Yu-Gi-Oh manga had so much. Actually, it wasn't bad because like it came out before the card game, so like the rules stuff does not matter. Okay, I'll put it into the bottom of solid pick overall. That's our compromise here. This is Yu Yu Hakusho. Why did I put it on this list? It's been so long since I read it. No, jokes aside, it's a classic shonen. The art style is a bit outdated, but like from a content perspective, I'd say it's like right above Demon Slayer. Oh my god, it's been 2 hours and 43 minutes. Damn, I thought this shit would take actually longer. I thought it would take like 4 hours. I think I probably just sped up really quickly later on, but yeah, no, this is the full list. I'll probably zoom out a little bit. There we go. If you want to see all the bad takes in one spot, I'm not going to be bothering that. The ordering is somewhat loose, but yeah, like if if something is adjacent to something, you can probably trust that I believe that that thing is better than the thing that it's adjacent to. But if you're like comparing something from something that's here and something that's here, then I would be like, I would not rely on the ordering that much. Why does it needs to be moved down to like right here? Okay. Yeah, and that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like. Subscribe if you want to see more. I'm gonna be making some more Fates content. Obviously, this is not my whole thing. The other videos are also probably up by now. Hopefully. Um, yeah, join the Discord if you want to be notified for this kind of stuff. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.